Chapter 1368. Originally, if Mu Yang had not occupied Scholar Tree Residence, then Tang Ao would have chosen to refine pills in Scholar Tree Residence. However, now that Mu Yang had become the village head of Qing Yun Village, and Tang Ao was only the deputy village head, Tang Ao could only build his own alchemy room. Because in Qing Yun Village, there was no place for the deputy village head to live. Fortunately, Scholar Tree Residence was surrounded by open space, and apart from Mu Yang's bamboo house, there were no other buildings in the surroundings. Therefore, Tang Ao easily chose a place to build his alchemy room. At this time, the Qing Yun Village's village guards also came over carrying a variety of stones and wood. If not for the existence of an old monster like Shi Yun in the village, then Tang Ao would have directly taken out a refined immortal's cave. However, now, Tang Ao did not dare to act presumptuously in front of Shi Yun's eyes, so he could only use this time-consuming and laborious conventional method. However, with the help of the village guards, Tang Ao's alchemy room was completed in less than half a day. At this time, the physical work had already ended, and the next step was to arrange the array formation. Therefore, after the village guards left to cultivate, Tang Ao began to arrange the array formation inside the alchemy room. According to Tang Ao's original idea, he had to arrange the 9-star spiritual array. However, after thinking about it, Tang Ao decided to keep a low profile. In the alchemy room, at this moment, Tang Ao stood in the middle of the alchemy room, but Tang Ao was not refining pills, but refining array flags. Pieces of materials were thrown into the crafting furnace by Tang Ao, and under the calcination of the flame, they changed shape. These spiritual materials were used by Tang Ao to refine array flags. Although Tang Ao's cultivation had suffered a great loss, refining these array flags was not a problem. Because the grade of these array flags was not high, it did not take long for Tang Ao to refine all the array flags. After refining the array flags, Tang Ao kept the crafting furnace and set up an array in the pill refining room. If it was just to set up other array formations, Tang Ao could use the array patterns and not the array flags. However, now that Tang Ao wanted to set up a fire-gathering array in the alchemy room, he had to use array flags. If he only wanted to occasionally refine some pills, then Tang Ao could summon the netherworld flame to refine them. But if it took a long time to refine pills, the netherworld flame wouldn't be able to handle it. Of course, it wasn't that the netherworld flame wasn't good, but the current Tang Ao was just too weak. Therefore, after some consideration, Tang Ao decided to use the fire-gathering array to gather the pill fire to refine pills. This way, Tang Ao could save a lot of energy. Tang Ao took out the array flag that he had just refined and sat down cross-legged. After calming his mind and adjusting his breathing, Tang Ao's powerful remembrance surged out and he started to carve runes on the array flags. This time, Tang Ao made a total of 36 array flags. With the lesson from last time on Murong Xian's pleasure boat, the array Tang Ao prepared to set up this time was the Big Dipper Inferno array. On the surface, this array looked exactly the same as the fire-gathering array, but because Tang Ao carved the Big Dipper Inferno array's runes on the array flags, if something unexpected happened, Tang Ao only needed to move the array flags to instantly activate the Big Dipper Inferno array. With Tang Ao's array skills, if something unexpected happened, even if there was an Origin Realm expert in the pill refining room, they would undoubtedly die. Tall trees attract the wind and the weak are prey to the strong. These were the rules of survival in the world of martial arts that Tang Ao already knew. Although Tang Ao wasn't clear on the influence of a 6-star alchemist in the Hidden Dragon Cave, Tang Ao still had the awareness of taking precautions. After he finished carving the runes, array flags were thrown out by Tang Ao in an orderly manner. After a wave of energy fluctuation, the array flags disappeared into the ground. Chapter 1369. Senior Brother Tang Ao, when are you going to teach me alchemy? After seeing Tang Ao, Situ Qianqian asked anxiously. Obviously, Situ Qianqian was very interested in alchemy. Moreover, Situ Qianqian's pure fire spiritual root was very suitable for learning alchemy. After Situ Qianqian asked, Tang Ao did not answer directly, but asked instead, "Have you finished reading the alchemy jade strip I gave you?" Previously, Tang Ao had given Situ Qianqian an alchemy jade strip from 1-star to 9-star alchemist. It recorded the basic knowledge of alchemy in detail, so if Situ Qianqian wanted to learn alchemy from him, she would have to read it thoroughly first. I've finished reading it. Situ Qianqian nodded hurriedly. Ever since she received the alchemy jade strip from Tang Ao, Situ Qianqian would take out the jade strip whenever she had time to study it. Now, Situ Qianqian had read the jade strip several times. In theory, the current Situ Qianqian was stronger than most 3-star and 4-star alchemists. But until now, Situ Qianqian had not refined a single batch of pills. Hearing that Situ Qianqian had finished reading the alchemy jade strip, Tang Ao was very satisfied. Whether it was martial arts cultivation or alchemy, diligence was very important. Nothing in the world was difficult if one worked hard, and this was not without reason. Since you've already read my alchemy jade strip, try refining a batch of pills, Tang Ao said, and took out an alchemy furnace. Although there was an image of an alchemy furnace in the alchemy jade strip, it was Situ Qianqian's first time seeing a real alchemy furnace. Seeing Situ Qianqian staring at the alchemy furnace as if it was a treasure, Tang Ao was speechless. At this moment, Lin Hu walked in from outside the door. After seeing Lin Hu, Situ Qianqian immediately put her hands on her waist and said, "Senior brother Lin Hu, how many times have I told you, before entering someone's room, you have to knock first?" When Lin Hu heard Situ Qianqian reprimanding him, he scratched his head in embarrassment and did not know what to say. Tang Ao knew that Lin Hu was honest, and Situ Qianqian didn't have any ill intentions. She just wanted to tease Lin Hu. However, Tang Ao still helped Lin Hu out. "Junior brother Lin Hu, is there something you need from me?" Lin Hu was now the commander of the Qin Yun Guards appointed by Tang Ao. The so-called Qin Yun Guards were the previous guards of Qin Yun Village. Although the function was the same, Tang Ao still felt that the name Village Defense Team was too common. It was not in line with Tang Ao's style at all. Therefore, after some consideration, Tang Ao changed the name of the Village Protection Team to the Qin Yun Guards. Lin Hu was the current commander of the Qin Yun Guards and was responsible for the safety of Qin Yun Village. Something must have happened for Lin Hu to come looking for him. Senior brother Tang Ao, senior brother Shi Luohua and junior brother Shi, who have already settled at the north side of the village. Previously, Tang Ao had Lin Hu help Shi Luohua and Shi, who settled down in the village. Now that the two had settled down, Lin Hu came to inform Tang Ao. After hearing this, Tang Ao frowned. "Didn't you say that the north side of Qin Yun Village is close to the Evergreen Valley and often has fierce beasts? Why did you arrange for the two of them to stay there?" In Tang Ao's mind, Shi Luohua and Shi, who were not villagers of Qin Yun Village, but guests of Qin Yun Village. Arranging for guests to stay in such a dangerous place was clearly not the way to treat guests. Although Shi Luohua and Shi, who had the ability to stay there as long as there was no beast tide, the two of them would not be afraid. If there were demonic beasts that did not have eyes and went to disturb them, they would only be sending themselves to their deaths. Chapter 1370. Because Lin Hu's proposal was really killing two birds with one stone. Although Qin Yun Village was not small, Qin Yun Village also had a lot of people. Therefore, when Tang Ao decided to build a training ground for the Qin Yun Guard, he could not find a suitable place. Now that the north of the village was empty, it couldn't be better. Moreover, the Qin Yun Guard was originally guarding the Qin Yun Village, so there was nothing wrong with the Qin Yun Guard being stationed in the north of the village. Then Tang Ao thought for a moment, then said to Lin Hu, "Now the Qin Yun Guard only has 30 people, it is far from enough. Recruit the number of people in the Qin Yun Guard until 100. Then the Qin Yun Guard's training ground will be built in the north of the village. You are responsible for this matter, the sooner the better. Is there anything else? Lin Hu shook his head and said, I will do it now. After Lin Hu finished speaking, he left Tang Ao's alchemy room without any hesitation, obviously to recruit the Qin Yun Guard and build the training ground. Seeing Lin Hu full of energy at this moment, Tang Ao also cheered up. As the deputy village chief of Qin Yun Village, he could not lose to Lin Hu. Senior brother Lin Hu, you didn't say much to me before leaving. Since childhood you have always been this stupid. Looking at Lin Hu's back, Situ Qianshan said in a bad mood. But not long after, Situ Qianshan's attention returned to the alchemy furnace in front of her. Situ Qianshan often heard Zhong Shan talk about alchemists, so she knew about alchemy furnaces very early on. However, today was the first time Situ Qianshan saw an alchemist using an alchemist. The alchemy furnace that Tang Ao took out was refined by Tang Ao using an old black rock iron in the warehouse of Qin Yun Village. According to the classification standard of the Flying Star Continent, this alchemy furnace was a 9-star alchemy furnace. This kind of alchemy furnace was already very precious in the Flying Star Continent, but in the Black-Yellow Continent, no alchemist would pick it up even if it was thrown on the street. Even so, when Tang Ao was refining this pill furnace, he still hesitated for a while. This was because this cauldron was already one of the best cauldrons on the Flying Star Continent. However, Tang Ao's current cultivation was not at the peak of the Flying Star Continent yet. As the saying goes, a man's wealth is his own ruin. Possessing such a pill furnace could cause trouble for Tang Ao sooner or later. However, after thinking about it, Tang Ao still concocted the 9-star pill furnace. Because in the path of pill concoction, the flame could be adjusted according to the strength of the pill master's soul remembrance, but the pill furnace couldn't be careless. This was also the reason why the higher the grade of the pill furnace, the more sought after by the alchemists. If Tang Ao wanted to snowball his pill concoction here, then the pill furnace naturally couldn't be bad. Although there were many better pill furnaces in Tang Ao's storage ring, Tang Ao had tried them. However, those pill furnaces in the Flying Star Continent were the same as concocting pills without a pill furnace. Among the many pill furnaces in Tang Ao's collection, only the Farmer God Cauldron could be used. However, Tang Ao felt that as long as he wasn't tired of living, he wouldn't take out the Farmer God Cauldron. After all, the small Qin Yun village had the existence of a chaotic heavenly realm powerhouse like Shi Yun. Who knew if there were any other monsters on the Flying Star Continent? Therefore, Tang Ao decided to refine this 9-star pill furnace and use it when the time came. Chapter 1371. After listening to Situ Qianshan's words, Tang Ao also discovered that although the grade of this alchemy furnace was not very satisfactory to Tang Ao, this alchemy furnace was really high-end and classy. Seeing that Situ Qianshan liked this alchemy furnace so much, Tang Ao also said in a rather heroic manner, "Junior sister Qianshan, I will only use this alchemy furnace for a period of time. When you become a 3-star alchemist, I will give this alchemy furnace to you." Really? Thank you, senior brother Tang Ao, I will definitely work hard to learn alchemy. After speaking, Situ Qianshan then said to Tang Ao, "Senior brother Tang Ao, will I be using this alchemy furnace to refine pills now? And what kind of pill do you want to refine?" Just now, Tang Ao was only focused on talking with Situ Qianshan and Lin Hu, and actually forgot to ask Situ Qianshan what kind of pill she wanted to refine. "Can I try the low-grade essence augmenting pill first, senior brother Tang Ao?" During this period of time, the pill that Situ Qianshan had been researching the most was the essence augmenting pill. Moreover, the essence augmenting pill was also the most widely circulated strategic pill in the Flying Star Continent. Tang Ao nodded his head. Although Tang Ao had never refined an essence augmenting pill, Tang Ao was confident that even if it was a so-called top-grade essence-augmenting pill, as long as there were the spiritual herbs required for alchemy, it would not be a problem for Tang Ao. After obtaining Tang Ao's permission, Situ Qianqian took out all the spiritual herbs required to refine the low-grade essence-augmenting pill. Although Tang Ao had never refined an essence-augmenting pill, he still had a clear understanding of the spiritual herbs required to refine the essence-augmenting pill. To refine the low-grade essence-augmenting pill, a total of 12 basic spiritual herbs were required. As for the middle-grade essence-augmenting pill, it required 24 different spiritual herbs. On the basis of the original 12 spiritual herbs, another 12 higher-grade spiritual herbs were added. It was the same for high-grade and supreme-grade essence-augmenting pills. Therefore, when it came to supreme-grade essence-augmenting pills, the number of spirit herbs required to refine could reach as many as 48. As a peak 6th-rank alchemist, naturally, it wasn't that Tang Ao didn't concoct pills that required many spirit grasses to be able to be concocted. However, Tang Ao felt that it was extremely difficult for body refinement realm or even origin realm alchemists to control 48 types of spirit grasses. Therefore, Tang Ao suspected that there were no supreme-level vitality-enhancing pills on the Flying Star continent at all. Although Tang Ao suspected that the Flying Star continent did not have the supreme vitality-augmenting pill, what puzzled Tang Ao was that Tang Ao was sure that there was nothing wrong with the formula of the supreme vitality-augmenting pill after careful study. In other words, it was possible to refine the essence-augmenting pill. It was just that wanting to refine a top-grade essence-cultivating pill was far more difficult than imagined. Tang Ao saw that after Situ Qianqian took out the 12 types of spiritual herbs, she began to carefully clean the spiritual herbs. In reality, these spiritual herbs had already been cleaned up very cleanly by her, but Situ Qianqian still carefully cleaned them again. After carefully cleaning the spiritual herbs, Situ Qianqian walked next to the cauldron. She calmed her mind and began to use soul remembrance to communicate with the cauldron. Following Situ Qianqian's soul remembrance communication, the arrays within the black rock cauldron were all activated by Situ Qianqian. Then, Situ Qianqian followed the method on the alchemy jade scroll and sent Yuan Qi into the cauldron. As Situ Qianqian's Yuan Qi poured in, a wisp of flame quietly jumped out of the black rock cauldron. When this wisp of flame, which could change according to Situ Qianqian's thoughts, appeared, Situ Qianqian happily cheered. Chapter 1372. It would take at least 3 to 5 days, and at most 1 to 2 months. People like them who could successfully congeal their pill fire after a few tries were truly rare existences. However, Tang Ao saw that Situ Qianqian had only used 1 try to congeal her pill fire. How could Tang Ao not be shocked? However, Situ Qianqian was currently completely immersed in the pill concoction process, so she didn't notice the stunned Tang Ao at the side. Tang Ao was, after all, a person who had seen great winds and waves. Thus, after the initial shock, Tang Ao quickly recovered and continued to watch Situ Qianqian concoct the pill. Tang Ao had to admit that Situ Qianqian was truly a pill concoction genius. She was naturally suited for pill concoction. She had a pure fire spirit root, and her soul remembrance was very exquisite. Thus, her control over her pill fire was very meticulous. With the previous failure, Situ Qianqian calmed her emotions and continued to congeal her pill fire. Following a pu sound from the pill furnace, a baby fist-sized flame quietly appeared in the black rock pill furnace. This time, Situ Qianqian was very calm. Although she was very happy, her Yuan Qi didn't fluctuate too much. Under Situ Qianqian's meticulous control, this flame quietly grew. Not long after, it covered the entire pill furnace. Then, under Situ Qianqian's control, it changed shape. Tang Ao nodded his head. Your control over the pill fire isn't too big of an issue. The next step is to use the pill fire to refine the medicinal liquid essence of the spirit herb. Hearing Tang Ao's words, Situ Qianqian nodded her head seriously. Situ Qianqian had carefully looked at the pill concoction jade slip that Tang Ao had given her. Thus, Situ Qianqian knew that in order to become a pill master, congealing the pill fire was the simplest step. The next step was refining the medicinal liquid, fusing the medicinal liquid, and congealing the pill. That was the true test of a pill master. After Situ Qianqian calmed her emotions, Tang Ao saw Situ Qianqian carefully pick up a spirit herb and place it in the pill furnace. Seeing this scene, Tang Ao could not help but smile. In his previous life, when Enruosu had taught him alchemy, the scene of his first alchemy was almost exactly the same as Situ Qianqian's. At that time, it was also the first time that Tang Ao had come into contact with alchemy. Thus, after condensing the alchemy fire, Tang Ao immediately prepared to refine the medicinal essence. Although Enruosu had told him to familiarize himself with the alchemic fire, otherwise he would fail without a doubt. However, Tang Ao, who refused to admit defeat, decided to immediately start refining the medicinal liquid. Although Tang Ao was very careful, he still used up all the low-level spiritual herbs that Enruosu had stored in her alchemy room. After that, Tang Ao and Enruosu quarreled and left. After a long time, the main building of the Pavilion of Herbs, the largest spiritual herb store in the Black-Yellow continent, was visited by Devil Lord Tang Ao. After a bitter battle with the 10 guardians of the Pavilion of Herbs, Tang Ao still managed to rob more than half of the spiritual herbs stored in the Pavilion of Herbs and left. This caused the Pavilion of Herbs to pursue Tang Ao throughout the entire Black-Yellow continent. However, Tang Ao was still unscathed. After robbing so many spiritual herbs in the past, Tang Ao naturally went back to find Enruosu. With the huge amount of spiritual herbs to practice with, Tang Ao's alchemy level naturally rose. However, as a burnt smell wafted out, Tang Ao also came back to his senses from his long memories. Even though Situ Qianqian had a pure fire spiritual root and an extremely meticulous psyche, when she was learning alchemy, she still encountered her first failure in refining spiritual herbs in her alchemy career. Senior brother Tang Ao, refining spiritual herbs is so difficult. After Situ Qianqian put away the alchemy fire, she looked at Tang Ao with an aggrieved expression. Chapter 1373. It seemed that as long as she followed Tang Ao's instructions, she would be able to refine the spiritual grasses successfully the last time. With Tang Ao's guidance, Situ Qianqian once again began to refine the spiritual grasses with confidence. However, the reality was far from as simple as she imagined. Situ Qianqian's second attempt at refining the medicinal liquid ended in failure, followed by a third and a fourth failure. Although the successive failures made Situ Qianqian very unhappy, she felt that she was able to make a little bit of progress each time. Situ Qianqian's heart was still relieved. This was because in the alchemy jade slip that Tang Ao gave to Situ Qianqian, it was clearly written that refining medicinal liquid was a process of accumulating experience for an alchemist. In this process, failure was inevitable. However, as long as one learned from each failure and improved a little the next time, then such a failure would not be considered a failure, but a small success. Seeing that Situ Qianqian was completely immersed in alchemy, Tang Ao did not disturb her. Originally, Tang Ao only wanted to test whether this alchemy furnace was good or not. Although Tang Ao did not personally refine the elixir, from the process of Situ Qianqian's alchemy, Tang Ao could see that there was no problem with this alchemy furnace. Although it was not comparable to Tang Ao's Shinong cauldron and other pill furnaces, Tang Ao knew that it would not be a problem to use this pill furnace to refine the best quality essence-augmenting pill. It was just that right now, Tang Ao did not even have the spiritual grasses to refine a low-grade essence-cultivating pill, let alone the spiritual grasses to refine a top-grade essence-cultivating pill. Although Tang Ao planned to start snowballing to accumulate cultivation resources during alchemy 3 days later, even if he wanted to snowball, he needed to have a snowball in the beginning. Therefore, after Situ Qianqian failed again, Tang Ao hurriedly stopped her. Situ Qianqian really had a lot of medicinal herbs on her, but Situ Qianqian was also very smart. After the first failure in refining the spiritual grasses for the essence cultivating pill, Situ Qianqian took out some very common spiritual grasses and began to refine them. But even so, Situ Qianqian had still wasted a lot of spiritual herbs, and a thick layer of pill ash had accumulated at the bottom of the Black Crag pill furnace. After Tang Ao finished speaking, Situ Qianqian also stopped. "Senior brother Tang Ao, what's wrong?" Although Situ Qianqian hadn't succeeded even once, she felt that she was getting closer and closer to success through continuous refinement. Now that Tang Ao had stopped her, Situ Qianqian was a little worried that her method was wrong. Seeing the nervousness on Situ Qianqian's face, Tang Ao smiled slightly. "Junior sister Qianqian, alchemy is a step-by-step process. According to your current speed, you will definitely succeed after refining 300 spiritual grasses. But now, can you lend me all the spirit grass needed to refine the low-grade essence cultivating pill? Senior brother Tang Ao here." Situ Qianqian didn't hesitate and took out a storage bag and handed it to Tang Ao. Tang Ao scanned it with his sole remembrance and found that this storage bag had 10 portions of spirit grass needed to refine the low-grade essence cultivating pill and 1 portion of spirit grass needed to refine the middle-grade essence cultivating pill. This caused Tang Ao to be overjoyed. With these spiritual grasses, it would be enough for Tang Ao to snowball. After thinking for a while, Tang Ao said, "Junior sister Qianqian, what do you think about this? Arrange all the spiritual grasses on you into portions according to the pill recipe. Tonight, I will refine all of these spiritual grasses into pills. Tomorrow, I will sell them at the market square and buy even more spiritual grasses." Chapter 1374. Seeing these spirit grasses, Tang Ao nodded in satisfaction. Subsequently, Tang Ao began to combine pill recipes based on these spirit grasses. While combining pill recipes, Tang Ao discovered that every place had its own unique spirit grasses. With just a glance, Tang Ao discovered that there were many types of spirit grasses that he had never seen before. The Shennong Emperor's spirit grasses jade slip also didn't have any records. Last time, when Tang Ao was attracted by the saber-toothed tiger's roar, he went to a special forest. In the forest, there was also an ancient spirit grass, the star flower, that Tang Ao had never seen before. Thinking of the star flower, Tang Ao immediately thought of the golden scroll that recorded the star flower. Immediately, Tang Ao took out the golden scroll named Grass. With a thought from Tang Ao, the golden scroll began to flip without any wind. This golden scroll's name was very special. It only had a single grass character. However, even Tang Ao couldn't help but marvel at the breadth of spirit grasses recorded in this golden scroll. During Tang Ao's cultivation, Tang Ao only occasionally encountered spirit grasses that he didn't recognize. However, when Tang Ao flipped through the golden scroll, Tang Ao discovered that he didn't recognize many spirit grasses. Although there were many spirit grasses on the ground, Tang Ao's status as a peak 6th grade alchemist was definitely not just for show. Not long after, the spirit grasses that Tang Ao recognized were combined into various pills by Tang Ao. There were also some spirit grasses that were unique to the Flying Star continent that Tang Ao couldn't do anything about. Of course, if there was enough time, Tang Ao could slowly study the medicinal properties of these spirit grasses. However, right now what Tang Ao lacked the most was time. Right now, the Murong family was in a precarious situation. Murong Xian was Tang Ao's savior, so Tang Ao naturally couldn't just sit and watch. More importantly, Tang Ao had received news that Chu Shuahan was currently trapped in the Liu family manor. 3 months later, the leader of the Flying Star Alliance, Liu Chuanjia, was going to hold a matchmaking convention for Chu Shuahan. Tang Ao heard that Liu Chuanjia should be in the origin martial realm. Currently, Tang Ao's cultivation had only recovered to the 5th level of the body refining realm. Although Tang Ao had many trump cards, Tang Ao did not have the confidence to challenge the dignity of an origin realm martial artist with his cultivation at the 5th level of the body refining realm. If it was only within the same realm, most of the time the gap between martial artists was not as big as imagined. But if they crossed a realm, it would be like the body refinement realm and the origin realm. The difference between the two could not be made up by some method. It was like an elephant facing a group of ants. No matter how strong the ants were, they couldn't shake the elephant. Although there was the saying of ants biting an elephant to death, that was only an imaginary thing. In reality, it would only happen. No matter how many body refining realm martial artists there were, they would only be sending food to the origin realm martial artists. So, within 3 months, Tang Ao had to recover his cultivation to the origin realm. At the very least, he had to recover to the 9th level of the body refining realm. Or else, not only would Tang Ao not be able to save Chu Shuahan, he would also lose his life. Senior Tang Ao, what do we do with these spirit grasses? Although Situ Qianqian knew that the last few spirit grasses were also spirit grasses, since Situ Qianqian's pill formulas were given by Tang Ao did not know how to match the pill formulas for these spirit grasses. Naturally, Situ Qianqian did not know how to match them as well. You can use the remaining spirit grasses to practice and quickly refine the medicinal essence. As Tang Ao spoke, he took out a cauldron. This cauldron was only a 5-star cauldron and it was not as high as the Blackrock cauldron. But to the current Situ Qianqian, it was enough. This white jade cauldron is for you. In the future, use this cauldron to concoct pills. Chapter 1375. However, Situ Qianqian didn't know that this beautiful white jade pill furnace wasn't as simple as it looked, because this white jade alchemy furnace was shockingly a 5-star alchemy furnace. In the hidden dragon caves, pill masters were rare, but there were still a few. There were even a few high-ranking pill masters. However, when it came to refiners, there were pitifully few of them. This was because pill masters and refiners had similar talent. They both had powerful soul remembrance, were proficient in fire-type secret techniques, and had fire spirit roots, or even pure fire spirit root. However, because the Yuan cultivating pill was a strategic pill in the Flying Star continent, the status of pill masters rose. This way, even the martial artists who originally wanted to learn forging switched to learning pill concoction. Only those who didn't have much success in the path of pill concoction would choose to learn forging. In this way, the number of cultivators who learned to refine artifacts would be 1 level lower. It would be even more difficult for a grandmaster to appear in the path of refining artifacts. Currently in the Hidden Dragon Caves, the strongest Alliance Tianxia Assembly had 7-star pill masters. However, even in the Tianxia Assembly, the strongest refiners could only forge 4-star soul weapons. Pill furnaces were also a type of soul weapon, and compared to normal soul weapons, pill furnaces were even harder to forge. Therefore, in the Hidden Dragon Caves, 4-star and above pill furnaces rarely appeared. Even if there were, they were mostly defective products from the Evergreen Valley. After giving the white jade pill furnace to Situ Qianqian, Tang Ao began to concoct pills. However, Situ Qianqian didn't immediately start extracting the spirit herbs. Instead, she stood to the side and watched Tang Ao alchemy. Situ Qianqian saw that Tang Ao alchemy was completely different from what was described on the pill concoction jade scroll. According to the description on the pill concoction jade scroll, the spirit herbs needed to be thrown into the pill furnace one by one. However, right now, Tang Ao just threw all the spirit herbs into the pill furnace. Because Tang Ao's soul remembrance was innately powerful, adding on the fact that Tang Ao had the Shenong Emperor's pill refining technique, normal pill refiners couldn't even be mentioned in the same breath as Tang Ao. Moreover, Tang Ao's soul remembrance and pill art were in their weakest states. His soul sea had been completely shattered. The higher one's cultivation, the more effective the pill art would be. However, because Tang Ao's cultivation was low, the effects weren't very obvious. As Tang Ao threw the spiritual grasses into the alchemy furnace, a faint medicinal fragrance wafted out from the alchemy furnace. Under the control of Tang Ao, the medicinal essence of the herbs was gradually extracted under the calcination of the alchemy fire. After extracting it, Tang Ao kept increasing the purity of the medicinal liquid essence. Generally speaking, as long as the medicinal liquid essence was purified to 30%, it could be used to refine pills. However, this was only done by normal pill refiners. The more powerful the pill refiner, the higher the purity when extracting the medicinal liquid essence. For example, when Tang Ao and Chu Shuahan were concocting pills, they could basically purify the medicinal liquid essence to 90% or above. In the pill concoction room, it was very quiet. One could even hear the sound of the pills forming in the pill furnace. As the night deepened, Tang Ao and Situ Qianqian were like meditating old monks in the pill concoction room. However, from time to time, Tang Ao would change his pill art, while Situ Qianqian would stare unblinkingly, afraid of missing any detail. Although Situ Qianqian had never concocted pills before, she had seen the guest alchemists of Qing Yun Alliance concoct pills in Qing Yun Alliance. Chapter 1376. In reality, Situ Qianqian did not know that Pill Master Tian and Tang Ao could not be mentioned in the same breath. Tang Ao's current level of alchemy was already at the peak of a grade 6 alchemy master. Due to the legacy of the Shenong Emperor, Tang Ao was already half a step into becoming an alchemy master. However, Tang Ao was currently stuck at a bottleneck. This bottleneck was due to Tang Ao's cultivation level and also due to Tang Ao's lack of enlightenment. Although Tang Ao alchemy's refinement was very smooth, Tang Ao still felt that something was missing. However, Tang Ao could vaguely feel that the pills he refined seemed to be lacking something. However, Tang Ao couldn't tell what it was that he was missing. At this moment, Tang Ao's hand seals changed again. Even a lion would use all its strength to capture a rabbit. Although Tang Ao could easily refine pills of this level, he was still very meticulous when it came to refining pills. Even so, when Tang Ao was refining this furnace of pills, he was still very meticulous. Collect. Under Situ Qianqian's gaze, Tang Ao softly uttered the word collect. Then, Tang Ao patted the furnace and 6 evenly distributed pills flew out of the furnace and landed in a jade bottle that Tang Ao had prepared in advance. The pill that Tang Ao was refining this time was called the Muscle Relaxation and Meridian Activation Pill. It was a very practical type of 3-star pill. It was very effective for some injuries such as stagnation and swelling. Senior brother Tang Ao, let me try it too. After seeing how easily Tang Ao refined a furnace of pills, Situ Qianqian immediately took out the white jade furnace that Tang Ao had given her. However, before Situ Qianqian could start refining, Tang Ao's voice was heard. Refine the furnace first before you start. Tang Ao did not refine the Black Crag pill furnace because it was too ordinary, so Tang Ao did not refine it. Just like the Shenong Emperor that Tang Ao usually used for alchemy, Tang Ao had refined it many times. However, the Shenong Emperor had 9 layers of restrictions, and Tang Ao had only refined the first 3 layers. If Tang Ao could refine all 9 layers of the Shenong Emperor's restrictions, even though Tang Ao's alchemy ability had yet to reach the level of an immortal alchemy master, Tang Ao could still rely on the Shenong Emperor's heaven-defying ability to refine immortal elixirs. However, with Tang Ao's current state, he didn't have to consider these things at all. It would be better to refine all these spirit plants into elixirs as soon as possible and sell them in the Crouching Dragon market tomorrow. Then, he would start collecting cultivation resources like a rolling snow mountain. Although the 9-Dragon Emperor Jade Body was domineering, Tang Ao had to admit that it consumed a lot of cultivation resources. Previously, when Tang Ao cultivated the hidden Jade Body, the cultivation resources he needed were almost 10 times that of martial artists of the same rank. However, now that Tang Ao had awakened the 9-Dragon Emperor Jade Body, the cultivation resources he needed for each increase in cultivation level were dozens of times more than martial artists of the same rank. Therefore, after reaching the 5th level of the body refining realm, Tang Ao had never slacked off in his cultivation. However, after so many days, Situ Qianqian, who had the same cultivation as Tang Ao, had already reached the early stage of the 6th level of the body refining realm. However, Tang Ao was still at the late stage of the 5th level of the body refining realm, and there were no signs of a breakthrough. This was because Tang Ao was an astral reaching realm martial artist in his previous life, so he didn't take any detours in his cultivation. Chapter 1377. At the same time, in a cottage in Qin Yun's village, Shi Yun, who was sitting quietly, suddenly opened his eyes. 2 beams of light flashed in his eyes. At this moment, his gaze seemed to have pierced through the entire Flying Star continent. Taking a deep breath, Shi Yun murmured, "I understand now. This is not some bullsh *T Yuan Qi." Shi Yun casually made a grabbing motion, and the surrounding Yuan Qi instantly gathered in Shi Yun's hand, forming a twinkling light ball. This transparent light ball slowly rotated in Shi Yun's hand, looking like a bright star. Sure enough, this is not the Yuan Qi of a low-rank place. This is the star Yuan power of the Divine King Falling Star. After this discovery, Shi Yun's eyes flashed with a hint of passion. At this moment, Shi Yun had understood that what filled the entire Flying Star continent was not Yuan Qi at all. Instead, it was the star Yuan power that leaked out from the Divine King Falling Star's body after his death. At the same time, Shi Yun also understood why only the Evergreen Valley's demonic beasts could break through the Divine King Falling Star's Tao accumulation and reach the Sea of Souls realm, Life and Death realm, and even the Astral Reaching realm. If someone knew Shi Yun's thoughts at this moment, they would most likely be scared to death. Not to mention the Astral Reaching realm demonic beasts. As long as an Origin Martial realm demonic beast came out of the Evergreen Valley, it would basically be able to wash the Hidden Dragon Crypt with blood. Basically, they could bathe the Hidden Dragon Crypt in blood. Although there were many martial artists in the Hidden Dragon Crypt, after so many years, there was still no Origin Realm martial artist that appeared in the Hidden Dragon Crypt. Otherwise, if there was an Origin Martial Realm martial artist, everyone would still believe that this Origin Martial Realm martial artist would definitely be able to lead everyone out of the Hidden Dragon Crypt and obtain freedom. But in fact, they were thinking too much, because even an Origin Martial Realm martial artist would not be able to blast open the Immortal Formation at the entrance of the Hidden Dragon Crypt. It must be the demonic beasts in the Evergreen Valley that swallowed the Divine King Falling Star's Divine Crystal Shard and obtained the recognition of the Divine King Falling Star's Tao accumulation, allowing them to cultivate to a certain realm without any restrictions. In other words, the Evergreen Valley is the burial ground of the Divine King Falling Star. After understanding this, Shi Yun sighed inwardly. He had been trapped in the Flying Star continent for 10,000 years, and now, there was finally a hope of getting out. Tang Ao knew that there were high-level demonic beasts in the depths of the Evergreen Valley. Tang Ao had even been fortunate enough to see images of the depths of the Evergreen Valley. It was just that when Tang Ao first saw that there were so many powerful demonic beasts in the depths of Evergreen Valley, He only thought about how to get away from these terrifying existences. He never thought about why the demonic beasts inside were so powerful. When Tang Ao alchemy was performed, he was in an ethereal state. Things that he hadn't thought about before were now clearly presented in Tang Ao's mind. Immediately, a memory fragment related to Underworld Emperor appeared before Tang Ao's eyes. It was a fist-sized crystal fragment that Underworld Emperor had obtained when he cultivated to the peak of 9th-level astral-reaching realm. Emperor Hades called this shard a divine crystal. It was said that this shard was a fragment of the divine crystal that had exploded after the Netherworld God King had perished. Once Emperor Hades absorbed and refined the broken divine crystal, he would be able to enter and exit the underworld freely and cultivate there. Once an ordinary person fell into the Netherworld, other than those with extraordinary cultivation, everyone else would immediately be melted by the incomparably dense Netherworld aura of the Netherworld. Chapter 1378. The so-called Tao world was a powerful plane that could only be opened up by experts who cultivated to the Divine King realm. Just like the Netherworld realm had been created by the Netherworld Divine Monarch, the current Flying Star continent was most likely a Tao world created by a Divine Monarch expert. Perhaps this place was not called the Flying Star continent at all, or perhaps something had happened here. After all, Divine Monarch realm experts were legendary existences. During Mingdi's era, there did not seem to be any Divine Monarch realm expert. According to the inherited memories of Mingdi and several other chaotic heaven realm experts, Tang Ao knew that the experts who dominated the various realms were Tao Master experts. Mingdi's sworn enemy, Origin Magnetism, was also one of them. This thought only flashed through Tang Ao's mind. But Origin Magnetism Tao Venerate, who was far away in the Origin Magnetism Tao Palace, had a strange look in his eyes. Then, Origin Magnetism Tao Venerate's vast spiritual force swept across countless realms, penetrated countless planes, and descended on the Flying Star continent. However, Origin Magnetism Tao Venerate's spiritual force did not stay on the Flying Star continent for too long. It continued to penetrate the plane where the Flying Star continent was located and went to other planes. In the entire Flying Star continent, most people did not react at that moment. However, in 4 places on the Flying Star continent, the expressions of 4 people changed. The first person was naturally Tang Ao. Origin Magnetism Tao Venerate and Ming Di were old enemies, so Tang Ao was very familiar with Origin Magnetism Tao Venerate's aura. Tang Ao had never imagined that Origin Magnetism Tao Venerate would be so strong. Just now, he had shown some hostility towards Origin Magnetism Tao Venerate in his heart, and Origin Magnetism Tao Venerate's aura instantly descended on this place. Fortunately, this place was really special, because Tang Ao could sense that Origin Magnetism Tao Venerate's spiritual force did not stay on the Flying Star continent for long before disappearing. Like Tang Ao, there were 3 other people who sensed Origin Magnetism Tao Venerate's spiritual force. Needless to say, one of them was Shi Lianyun, who had been trapped on the Flying Star continent for 10,000 years. Although Shi Lianyun's cultivation level had been suppressed by Divine King Yunxing's nomological Tao essence, after obtaining the Falling Star token, this suppression had been greatly reduced. Thus, when the Origin Magnetic Tao Venerate's spiritual sense swept through the myriad heavens, Shi Yun immediately detected it. After sensing the aura of the Origin Magnetic field, Shi Lianyun was startled. Could it be that Protomagnetic had also discovered that this was God King Yunxing's burial ground and wanted to snatch God King Yunxing's inheritance? Although Shi Lianyun was conceited, Shi Lianyun wasn't conceited enough to think that he, a completely suppressed chaotic heaven realm expert, could compete with Magnetite for God King Yunxing's inheritance. Therefore, Shi Yun could only pray that the old fox, Protomagnetic, hadn't discovered that this was God King Yunxing's inheritance ground, giving him the opportunity to collect the other 7 falling star tokens. At this moment, Shernwanyun took out a token made of star stones. Xiao Yu had stolen this token from the Murong family home. When the Murong family was in chaos, Xiao Yu had snuck into the Murong family home and stolen this token for his master, Kong Yun. Now, Shi Yun was sure that these 8 tokens were the key to opening God King Yunxing's inheritance. At the same time, as long as one had these 8 tokens at the same time, one could absorb and refine all the celestial essence scattered across the flying star continent. Shi Yun felt very excited. The celestial essence scattered across the flying star continent was the Tao essence of God King Yunxing's cultivation. Chapter 1379. Although Tang Ao had also speculated that the flying star continent was extraordinary, he had even guessed that this was the Tao world of a divine king expert. However, as the time Tang Ao had spent here couldn't compare to Shi Yun's, Tang Ao hadn't thought about the special characteristics of the surrounding Yuan Qi. In the depths of Evergreen Valley, a black-clothed man had a strange expression on his face. This was because he had actually felt an extremely powerful divine will sweep past his body in that instant. His memory was very unclear, and his eyes were filled with confusion. He didn't know who he was, nor did he know where he was. However, he knew that everything here was echoing with him, as if this place belonged to him. Moreover, although that spiritual sense was powerful, the black-clothed man had a feeling. It was as if his past self was thousands of times more powerful than that spiritual sense. At the thought of this, the black-clothed man felt a little dizzy. His memory had always been fragmented and couldn't be connected. However, in all the fragments of his memory, he could see that people often addressed him as Divine King Falling Star. Could it be that he was Divine King Falling Star? Who was Divine King Falling Star? As he thought about these questions, the black-clothed man felt a sharp pain in his head. Then, he roared. His roar caused the surrounding forest to tremble. In the depths of Evergreen Valley, the astral-reaching realm, Yin-Yang realm, and even the powerful demonic beasts at the chaotic sky realm were all prostrating on the ground, not daring to move. After the roar, the black-clothed man's body tilted, and he fell into the small lake below him. A moment ago, he had been sitting cross-legged on a rock in the center of the lake. After falling into the water, the black-clothed man's aura gradually calmed down. Then, the depths of Evergreen Valley gradually regained its tranquility. Naturally, outsiders didn't have the opportunity to witness this scene. Even Shi Lianyun hadn't expected that Tao Master Falling Star, whom he had been thinking about, hadn't died. At the moment, he was in an extremely bad state and had been hiding in the depths of Evergreen Valley. If Shi Tianyun had known about this, he would not have tried every possible means to collect the other 7 fallen star tokens. However, even so, if Shi Tingyun could really gather all 8 falling star tokens, refine them, and absorb all the star essence energy of the entire flying star continent, then even Divine King Falling Star would not be able to do anything to Shi Tingyun. After all, Divine King Yunxing's main body was still in a chaotic state and his cultivation was only at the peak of the chaotic heaven realm. He had yet to reach the Tao Master realm. Furthermore, God King Yunxing and God King Xidigarbha had perished together back then. Although the two of them had reincarnated after countless years, God King Yunxing and God King Xidigarbha had died together. However, his cultivation was still less than 1/10,000th of his peak. Not only did he not recover to the Divine King realm, he did not even break through to the Tao Master realm. Junior Sister Qianqian, did you feel anything strange just now? In the alchemy room, Tang Ao raised his head and asked Situ Qianqian. Situ Qianqian was a little confused. No, senior brother Tang Ao, what happened? Situ Qianqian's eyes were filled with confusion. She had been completely focused on her alchemy and hadn't felt anything at all. Chapter 1380. Although Situ Qianqian had collected a lot of spiritual grasses over the years, Tang Ao alchemy's speed was too fast. Therefore, in the latter half of the night, Tang Ao had refined all the spiritual grasses that were piled up into a small mountain into medicinal pills. This time, Tang Ao had refined a total of 40 bottles of medicinal pills. Although these medicinal pills were not of high grade, they were all of the best quality among medicinal pills of the same grade. After all, Tang Ao was a true sixth realm alchemist. Refining medicinal pills of this level was really not a challenge at all. Alright, let's take a break now. When dawn comes, we'll go to the market to sell these medicinal pills. After refining these medicinal pills, Tang Ao sat down cross-legged. Situ Qianqian also nodded. The spiritual grasses in her hands were also used up. After working hard for most of the night, Situ Qianqian was able to extract the medicinal essence from the spiritual grasses. However, she still could not purify the medicinal essence to 30% purity. And to refine medicinal pills, the minimum requirement of the medicinal essence in the spiritual grasses was to purify it to 30% purity. The night passed uneventfully. The next morning, before dawn, Tang Ao and Situ Qianqian rode 2 horses out of Qingyun village and rushed to the Hidden Dragon Market. The Hidden Dragon Market was the largest trading area in the Hidden Dragon Crypt. Almost all the cultivators in the Hidden Dragon Crypt would come here to sell and buy things. This time, Tang Ao was here to sell things and also to buy things. This time, Tang Ao brought 40 bottles of 1-star to 4-star medicinal pills. It was not that Tang Ao did not want to refine higher-grade medicinal pills, but because although Situ Qianqian had a lot of spiritual grasses, she did not have many high-grade spiritual grasses. Tang Ao only refined 1 bottle of 4-star medicinal pills, which was the muscle-relaxing activating pill. In addition, there were 9 bottles of 3-star medicinal pills. As for 1-star and 2-star pills, he refined 10 bottles of each. If Tang Ao was willing, of course, he could refine even more. However, Tang Ao felt that refining too many of these low-level elixirs would be useless, so Tang Ao gave all the remaining spirit grasses to Situ Qianqian to practice. The reason why he chose to come today was because today was the Dragon Subduing Market's monthly gathering. Every 3 months, the Dragon Subduing Market would hold a gathering like this. At this time, as long as the martial artists had been here for a long time, they would come over. Even if they didn't need anything, as long as they were nearby, they would come to watch the fun. On the way to the Crouching Dragon Market, Tang Ao and Situ Qianqian met many people. However, everyone was also on guard against each other and had no intention of communicating at all. Because in the Dragon Subduing Crypt, the battles were more intense than in the outside world. Sometimes there was no need for a reason to kill someone. Some powerhouses could kill other warriors for no reason as long as they could get what they wanted. Therefore, even though everyone was going to the same place along the way, everyone walked with familiar people. They kept their distance from the rest because going to the Dragon Subduing Market at this time, whether it was buying or selling things, they would have some goods on them. As long as one wasn't too stupid, they could understand this logic. And for these people to be able to survive for so long in the Dragon Subduing Crypt, not only were they not stupid, but each one was more shrewd than the other. Just as Tang Ao and Situ Qianqian were talking and moving forward, a beast carriage sped over from afar. The tyrannical aura of the demonic beast scared the horses that Tang Ao and Situ Qianqian were riding so much that they sat paralyzed on the ground. This person's high-profile behavior naturally attracted the attention of the surrounding people. Many people even revealed a trace of disgust in their eyes. However, this trace of disgust did not linger in their eyes for too long before it was retracted. Because there were 2 big blood-colored words on the curtains of this beast carriage, Azura. These 2 words were not ordinary. In the Dragon Subduing Crypt, these 2 words represented a major force, and this force was called the Azura Union. In the dragon-subduing crypt, there was a total of 10 alliances formed by martial artists. Among them, the Underworld Union was publicly recognized as the strongest alliance. The minimum requirement to join the Underworld Union was to reach the 7th level of the body refining realm. Under such stringent requirements, the number of people in the Underworld Union was the smallest among the 10 alliances. However, the small number of people did not affect the strength of the Underworld Union. There used to be a total of 12 alliances in the dragon-subduing crypt. 2 alliances joined forces to deal with the Underworld Union. Later on, there were only 10 alliances. Chapter 1381. Tang Ao patted the startled date red horse under him. The date red horse also stood up. Tang Ao and Situ Qianqian were riding on the most normal date red horse. It couldn't even be considered a demonic beast. The Azura Alliance's people used demonic beasts called fire armor bulls to pull their carriages. Fire armor bulls had great endurance and were extremely berserk. They could run as fast as they could. Due to their great endurance, they could carry heavy loads for long distances. As a mount, fire armor bulls were the best choice. Another thing was that fire armor bulls that were raised were extremely loyal to their masters. They could even be used as bodyguards. The slightly larger forces basically all had livestock like the fire armor bull. However, in Evergreen Valley, there were very few fire armor bulls. Only Underworld Society and Azura Alliance had found fire armor bulls in Evergreen Valley. There was also a rumor that the only fire armor bull heard in Evergreen Valley had been captured by Azura Alliance and Underworld Society. Therefore, the other Alliance members had never seen fire armor bulls in Evergreen Valley. After Tang Ao and Situ Qianqian's date red horse calmed down, Tang Ao and Situ Qianqian continued on their way. The people around them didn't talk to each other. They all went their own ways. Next to Tang Ao and Situ Qianqian was a young man and woman. The two of them were riding on the same horse and quietly talking to each other. Although their voices were soft enough, a martial artist's 6 senses were superior to others. Moreover, Tang Ao's soul remembrance was constantly enveloping the surroundings, so Tang Ao naturally heard the two's words clearly. He heard the young man say, "The news of Evergreen Valley discovering Poison Fog Canyon is probably going to spread soon. While there aren't many people who know, let's buy a few more poison avoidance pills. When the time comes, whether we go in or out of Poison Fog Canyon or resell them, we'll definitely make a profit." "But Brother Zhao, Poison Fog Canyon is so dangerous. If no one goes to Poison Fog Canyon, you won't be able to sell your poison avoidance pills." The woman's eyes showed a trace of worry. As the saying goes, the speaker didn't mean it, but the listener was interested. The two people's conversation attracted Tang Ao's interest. With Tang Ao's current cultivation, entering the middle region of Evergreen Valley was quite difficult. However, the outer region of Evergreen Valley had been excavated by the Hidden Dragon Cave's martial artists for years. Therefore, after hearing about the poisonous fog in the canyon, Tang Ao immediately became interested. "Kid, what's up with the poisonous canyon you mentioned?" Just as the young man and woman were whispering to each other, a big bearded man suddenly shouted from behind them. This man's voice was like thunder, so he couldn't have the attention of Ao of the two. Was seeing this scene, Zhao Tao's expression was somewhat unsightly. Zhao Tao had just been a bit proud of his idea, so he couldn't help but say it to his partner. Moreover, Zhao Tao's soul remembrance was extremely sensitive. If a martial artist used soul remembrance to spy on him, Zhao Tao would immediately discover it. Now, Zhao Tao had never thought that this unprepossessing bearded man would have such amazing hearing ability. He was actually able to hear his words just by relying on his hearing ability. However, Tang Ao could only say that this Zhao Tao was truly too confident, because not only was he spying on him, but Tang Ao's soul remembrance was constantly scanning the area. However, This Zhao Tao simply didn't detect the existence of Tang Ao's soul remembrance. Moreover, this was when he was so close to Tang Ao. Chapter 1382. Now, Tang Ao understood why the martialists in the Hidden Dragon Caves were so wary of each other. It was because the female martialist in Zhao Tao's arms had a very close relationship with him. But even with such a relationship, this woman was still thinking about how to trick Zhao Tao. At this moment, only Tang Ao knew what was going on. Everyone else, including Zhao Tao, was still in the dark. However, Tang Ao and Zhao Tao weren't related, so Tang Ao wanted to see what this bearded man and this woman were up to. Indeed, after seeing everyone's gaze, Zhao Tao's expression changed slightly. He immediately said, "Since this friend heard it, I won't hide it from everyone. 3 days ago, a group of 20 friends went to explore the no-man's land in the periphery of Evergreen Valley." After hearing that it was the no-man's land in the periphery of Evergreen Valley, everyone perked up. Tang Ao had never been to Evergreen Valley before, so he had no idea what the no-man's land in the periphery of Evergreen Valley was. Fortunately, Situ Qianqian knew about this. Hence, when she saw Tang Ao's puzzled expression, she immediately said to Tang Ao, "A portion of the periphery of Evergreen Valley is managed by the Big 10 alliances. They are the so-called districts 1 to 10. For example, the Underworld Union manages the 1st district of Evergreen Valley. Our Qing Yun Union manages the 10th district of Evergreen Valley." After pausing for a moment, Situ Qianqian continued, "From the 1st to the 10th district, the area is larger and the resources are more abundant. However, no matter how abundant the resources are, with so many martialists searching crazily, the resources are decreasing year by year. Apart from these 10 districts, there is still a large area in the periphery of Evergreen Valley. However, these areas are either hidden, scattered, or have no resources at all. Hence, they are called the no-man's land in the periphery of Evergreen Valley." After hearing Situ Qianqian's explanation, Tang Ao immediately understood. The so-called no-man's land was the area in the periphery of Evergreen Valley that hadn't been explored yet. If it wasn't for the fact that there was nothing there would definitely be something good there. Although Tang Ao had never been to the Evergreen Valley, he had never doubted that there were good things in the Evergreen Valley. Now that he knew that the no-man's land that Zhao Tao and the others had discovered was an area filled with poisonous fog, Tang Ao immediately became spirited. The more complicated the environment, the more difficult it was for a martial artist to enter. Since cultivators were unable to enter, then the things that should be inside were naturally not lacking. Thinking of this, Tang Ao secretly admired Zhao Tao. It wasn't like he didn't know what kind of place the Hidden Dragon Crypt was. Of course, the first thing he wanted to do after discovering such a great place was to explore it carefully. He could even monopolize the resources in the canyon before anyone else discovered it. However, after Zhao Tao found this canyon, all he could think of was how to show off to his partner. If his partner really wanted to be with him, it would have been fine. But now, before anyone even came looking for him, his partner had already started to set him up. Even with Tang Ao's taste, Tang Ao had to admit that the one Yao in Zhao Tao's arms was rather good-looking. After being in the Hidden Dragon Crypt for so long, Tang Ao really hadn't seen many outstanding female martialists. Even if there were beauties, they were ice-cold beauties like Cold Moon. Chapter 1383. Tang Ao saw that when these martial artists looked at Wen Yao, the instigator of all this, Wen Yao, revealed a trace of timidity and shrunk back into Zhao Tao's embrace. Tang Ao had just used his soul remembrance to scan Zhao Tao, so Tang Ao knew that Zhao Tao was only at the 6th level of the body refining realm. A 6th level body refining realm martial artist wasn't very outstanding in the Hidden Dragon Cave. Though Tang Ao was only at the 5th level of the body refining realm, Tang Ao knew that there were many 6th and even 7th level body refining realm martial artists in the hidden dragon cave. Given Wen Yao's looks and skills, Tang Ao believed that Wen Yao would definitely be able to take down even a dumb body refining realm martial artist at the 8th or 9th level, let alone someone at the 7th level of the body refining realm. Therefore, Tang Ao couldn't understand what kind of treasure was hidden on Zhao Tao's body, or what did Zhao Tao know that caused this poisonous woman to plot against him. Today's events may have seemed like a coincidence in the eyes of others, but Tang Ao, who had already seen through everything, naturally knew that it wasn't a coincidence. It was all part of Wen Yao's plan. "Brat, why are you stuttering? If you have something to say, then say it." Zhao Tao was still hesitating on how to say it when the bearded brawny man angrily roared. Living for a long time in the hidden dragon caves filled with killing and fighting, most martial artists didn't have good tempers. This bearded martial artist clearly had an explosive temper. "Right, quickly say it. What did your group of 20 people find in the no-man's land outside of Evergreen Valley?" Without waiting for Zhao Tao to speak, a white-clothed male martial artist with makeup on his face made an orchid gesture and asked in a shrill voice. Seeing this person, Tang Ao didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Tang Ao truly didn't understand what this fellow was playing at. How did he get himself into such a state? Though Tang Ao had seen a few performers in the secular world dressed as women, those people were very normal after they finished their performances. The fellow in front of him was a little strange. He was obviously very handsome, but he had drawn himself as a woman. Moreover, his Adam's apple was a little hidden. If one did not look carefully, they would not be able to see it. In such a situation, Tang Ao could only think of one possibility, and that was that this guy had cultivated some kind of evil cultivation method that could turn Yang into Yin. Although it looked a little strange, Tang Ao did not underestimate him. This was because although this white-clothed man and the bearded man who had just spoken were both at the 7th level of the body refining realm, Tang Ao knew that if the two of them were to fight, this white-clothed man would definitely crush the bearded man. This was because this person's aura was restrained, and his entire body's yuan qi was one. It was obvious that he was an expert. In the dragon-subduing caves, most cultivators blindly pursued speed in their cultivation because the higher the realm, the easier it was for them to survive in this cruel place. Therefore, very few martial artists were willing to take things one step at a time. This white-clothed youth in female clothing was clearly one of them. What happened here had attracted the surrounding people. After one of the martial artists saw the white-clothed youth in the center, he could not help but mutter, "Who is this guy? Why is he so effeminate?" But before he could finish, his mouth was immediately covered by his companions. "Do you want to die? This is Blood Moon Red. You don't even know Master Hong. He is Blood Moon Red?" Just now, this person had wanted to say that Blood Moon Red was a bit effeminate, but now that he heard Blood Moon Red's famous name, his voice immediately trembled. Chapter 1384. Thinking of this, Tang Ao felt that he was a bit ignorant. Blood Moon Red was clearly a famous person in the hidden dragon caves, but Tang Ao had never heard of his name. "Junior sister Qianqian, who is this Blood Moon Red?" "Senior brother Tang Ao, let me tell you." This time, Situ Qianqian didn't dare to speak, instead using soul remembrance to transmit to Tang Ao. Seeing Situ Qianqian's cautiousness, Tang Ao couldn't help but attach more importance to Blood Moon Red. "Senior brother Tang Ao, unless it's absolutely necessary, you can't become enemies with this Blood Moon Red. He can't be killed, and what he likes to do the most is to peel off people's bones and refine their souls. In this subduing dragon crypt, all the martial artists who opposed him became bare skeletons in the end. Their flesh and blood were all scraped off by Blood Moon Red. Moreover, the martial artist's soul was also put into a soul bottle to be refined. Just thinking about it made Situ Qianqian's scalp go numb. After personally seeing Blood Moon Red, Situ Qianqian had a feeling that she wanted to escape this place. Tang Ao saw that when Blood Moon Red appeared, Wen Yao was also shocked. However, there was no fear in her eyes. However, when Tang Ao saw the way Blood Moon Red looked at Wen Yao, Tang Ao couldn't tell that the two of them knew each other. On the other hand, though the full-bearded man tried his best to pretend that he didn't know Wen Yao, Tang Ao could tell that the two of them not only knew each other, but that their relationship wasn't shallow. Red Master, I, Zhao Tao, have never offended you before. Why is Red Master doing this? Zhao Tao had been in the hidden dragon caves for so long, so he naturally wasn't a cowardly person. Just now, when the full-bearded man stopped him, Zhao Tao didn't even put him in his eyes. Even if he was a 7th-level body refinement realm martial artist, so what? However, after knowing that the person standing in front of him was Blood Moon Red, Zhao Tao couldn't even speak properly. In the dragon subduing crypt, if one were to talk about the most famous person, it wouldn't be the Alliance head of the World Assembly, Feng Shui, nor would it be the half-step origin realm old bastard from the Azura Alliance. It would be Shui Yuehong. This was because Shui Yuehong's methods were too shocking. Since entering the dragon subduing cave, Shui Yuehong had made countless enemies and offended countless people. As a result, Shui Yuehong was still alive and well, but many of his enemies had died. There was once a martial artist who joked that among 10 martial artists in the dragon subduing crypt, one person had enmity with the Blood Moon Crimson. Although this was just a joke, it was not much different from the truth. However, because Blood Yuehong liked to kill people who were related to her, after countless bloody lessons, some people who had a grudge against Blood Yuehong knew that there was no hope for revenge and could only live an ignoble existence in the dragon subduing caves. Just say what you want. If you had offended this servant, would you still be breathing here? Hearing Zhao Tao's words, Shui Yuehong bluntly replied. Shui Yuehong's words were already very rude, but at that moment, in Zhao Tao's ears and in the ears of quite a few people in the surroundings, it could already be counted as the most polite words in the world. If it was said that Zhao Tao was originally planning to hide some things, but now that he had offended Shui Yuehong, Zhao Tao only hoped that after he told everything, Shui Yuehong wouldn't make things difficult for him and would let him go. However, what made Tang Ao feel a bit amused was that even at a time like this, Zhao Tao didn't forget his beauty. There was a bit of struggle in her eyes, but in the end she still bit her teeth and said, Master Red, in a bit, if you insist on killing me, I am willing to use a treasure to exchange for my partner's life. Chapter 1385. No rush, let's talk first. However, what Zhao Tao didn't expect was that Blood Yuehong, who always liked to kill and steal, wanted him to first talk about what he found in the uninhabited area of Evergreen Valley instead of asking what treasure it was. If it was anything else, Zhao Tao wouldn't dare say it could move Blood Yuehong, but this item was too special. Moreover, Zhao Tao had obtained this item not long ago, so Zhao Tao was sure that Blood Yuehong didn't know he had such an item on him. Tang Ao found it interesting. This Blood Yuehong's abilities weren't weak, and his rules were rather interesting. If his methods weren't so cruel, Tang Ao would want to befriend him. Tang Ao could faintly feel that although Blood Yuehong's cultivation method was a bit strange, no matter how he looked at it, Blood Yuehong didn't seem like someone who would kill without batting an eye. However, Situ Qianqian said that too many people had died at Blood Yuehong's hands, so Tang Ao couldn't immediately judge whether Blood Yuehong was a good or evil person. Master Red, since it's like this, I'll be bold and say it. A few days ago, a group of us discovered a stream by chance. The stream contained a weak source of vital energy. Although most of the water in lakes and rivers contain yuan qi, the yuan qi in that stream is comparable to a low-grade essence cultivating pill. Zhao Tao was a little proud when he spoke about this matter. Back then, it was his sharp soul remembrance that detected the abnormality in the water. Hearing Zhao Tao say this, many people went crazy. The energy in the stream was comparable to low-grade cultivating yuan pills, so how could the water in that stream be water? It was clearly a stream that flowed with low-grade cultivating yuan pills. Therefore, a martial artist couldn't help but ask, "Where is this stream? Brother Zhao, please tell us." When Tang Ao heard Zhao Tao say this, he clicked his tongue in wonder. In the hidden dragon cave, the energy of heaven and earth was so thin, but in such an environment, there was still such a magical stream. Although Tang Ao still had a trace of doubt in his heart, Tang Ao still felt that this situation was very likely. However, at this moment, Zhao Tao took out a jade bottle and completely dispelled everyone's doubts. The jade bottle in Zhao Tao's hand was a very ordinary jade bottle used to store pills. At the moment, this jade bottle was filled with clear water. The instant Zhao Tao opened the jade bottle's restriction, everyone's sole remembrance enveloped the jade bottle. After sensing the pure yuan qi in the clear stream water in the jade bottle, many people's expressions became particularly interesting, and many people's eyes burned with passion. What did the hidden dragon crypt lack the most? Without a doubt, it was cultivation resources. If there was such a stream, how many cultivation resources could it provide? Moreover, since there was such a stream, would there be more in the surroundings? What kind of treasure was at the source of this stream? All of this attracted countless people, and they couldn't wait to explore the Poison Fog Canyon that Zhao Tao mentioned. After seeing the stream water in Zhao Tao's hand, even Tang Ao was a little moved. Tang Ao had cultivated for 2 lifetimes, but Tang Ao had never seen such a magical stream. Keep talking, don't stop. Although this stream water was precious, Blood Moon Red didn't seem satisfied. Although Shui Yuehong looked like she was neither a man nor a woman, her thoughts were extremely exquisite and meticulous. This Zhao Tao was willing to talk about such precious stream water right from the start. This meant that in the Poison Fog Canyon, Zhao Tao definitely had some other shocking discoveries. Chapter 1386. Yes. After Shui Yuehong spoke, Zhao Tao hurriedly nodded and continued, "After discovering the abnormality of this stream, we fought over it. Of the 20 people who went together, only 12 were left. In the end, the 12 of us agreed that each person would collect water for 2 hours. After collecting water for a day, we would continue to follow the stream and search for its source. While following the stream to search for the source, we came to a canyon shrouded in black poisonous miasma. Back then, we didn't have many antidote pills with us, so we only explored the periphery of the canyon. Even so, when we were exploring the periphery of the canyon, the remaining 12 people fought over a treasure." As he spoke, Zhao Tao tactfully took out a jade fragment from his storage ring. Although the jade fragment in Zhao Tao's hand was the size of a fingernail, it was a little thin. However, when Zhao Tao took out the jade fragment, everyone's expression changed. This was because this jade fragment contained an unimaginably pure essence energy. Tang Ao looked at the jade fragment in Zhao Tao's hand and frowned. He wondered if this jade fragment was equivalent to the spirit stones of the black-yellow continent. However, Tang Ao quickly rejected this idea. According to Tang Ao's perception, the essence energy contained in the jade fragment in Zhao Tao's hand surpassed the intensity of spiritual energy. Tang Ao possessed the inheritance of Shenong Emperor, Emperor Hades, and several other chaotic sky realm experts. Therefore, Tang Ao naturally knew the difference between essence energy and spiritual energy, as well as immortal spiritual energy. Only the highest planes with the most complete laws of heaven and earth would have immortal spiritual energy. As for the rest of the planes, they were covered in spiritual energy. Only a small portion of the lower planes were covered in essence energy. As for the strength of vitality, it was several times or even dozens of times inferior to spiritual energy. However, the essence energy contained in the jade fragment in Zhao Tao's hand was clearly stronger than the spiritual energy contained in the supreme-grade spirit stones. If Shi Yun was here, he would definitely be able to recognize that this jade fragment was the crystallization of Divine King Yunxing's star essence energy. Unfortunately, Shi Yun didn't care about the things in the periphery of Evergreen Valley. All he thought about was how to go deep into Evergreen Valley. Therefore, Shi Yun didn't even consider that Divine King Yunxing's star essence energy crystal would appear in the periphery of Evergreen Valley. Although Shi Yun couldn't cultivate now, as long as he collected all 8 fallen star tokens, it wouldn't be a problem for him to recover to the chaotic sky realm with the help of these star essence crystals. Unfortunately, Shi Yun didn't know that there were star essence energy crystals in the periphery of Evergreen Valley, nor did he obtain the 8 fallen star tokens. After plotting in the Hidden Dragon Crypt for so many years and cultivating several warriors like Xiao Yu was the only one who stole the fallen star insignia from the Murong family when they were at their weakest. After seeing the crystal stones in Zhao Tao's hands, Tang Ao had already decided that after he sold the pills, he would go to the canyon that Zhao Tao mentioned to him to take a look. Chapter 1387. So you're saying that out of the 20 people that went, only the 3 of you came out in the end? Other than you, who were the other 2? The one asking this time was the full-bearded man from before. After Blood Yuehong appeared, perhaps he was afraid of Blood Yuehong and didn't say anything else. Hearing Zhao Tao say that only 3 people came out in the end, the large man couldn't help but ask who the other 2 were. I don't know either of them. I only know that one of them was from the Rogue Cultivator Alliance, and the other was from the Violent Blade Alliance. Back then, although we came out of the poison mist, we were all poisoned. Therefore, after we left the Poison Mist Canyon, we were immediately in the limelight. Now that Zhao Tao had already thrown caution to the wind and said this much, there was naturally nothing worth hiding. Then let me ask you, in your group this time, was there someone called Suda? What happened to this person afterwards? At this time, the full-bearded man's eyes had a trace of exhaustion. This Suda seemed to have a close relationship with him. However, Suda wasn't from the Rogue Cultivator Alliance or the Violent Blade Alliance. Therefore, the full-bearded man guessed that his brother was most likely no longer in this world. Seeing this, Tang Ao could also see that this full-bearded man seemed to have been used by Wen Yao. The reason why he looked at Wen Yao just now wasn't because he had thoughts about her, but because he wanted to ask about Su Da's whereabouts. Tang Ao wasn't an idiot. Therefore, Tang Ao knew that if this Zhao Tao wasn't unlucky enough to encounter Blood Yuehong, these words probably wouldn't have come out of his mouth. Every warrior in the Hidden Dragon Cave had their secret. Moreover, the secret that Zhao Tao spoke of this time was truly shocking. The stream water that contained Yuan Qi, then the jade stone shards that contained pure Yuan Qi. No one had explored the Poison Mist Canyon before. The things hidden inside definitely surpassed most people's imaginations. Having said this, Zhao Tao naturally wouldn't hide it anymore. Zhao Tao's sole remembrance sketched in the air and a topographical map appeared in front of everyone. Even Tang Ao could tell that this topographical map was the topographical map of the Hidden Dragon Cave. However, what Zhao Tao sketched in detail was only a small part of it. From the topographic map, Tang Ao saw a continuous mountain range that looked like a maze. Tang Ao secretly admired Zhao Tao's group for actually being able to find such a place. Then, Tang Ao continued to look at the topographic map and saw that Zhao Tao had used blue lines to outline 3 of the streams. These 3 streams are the streams that contain essence energy that I mentioned earlier. Originally, I had planned on collecting some more before leaving. However, I was already poisoned when I left. Thus, I did not collect any of the stream's water, Zhao Tao explained to Shui Yuehong after marking the streams. When Tang Ao saw the 3 streams marked by Zhao Tao, he secretly sighed in his heart. His guess was right. Just now, Tang Ao felt that since there was such a stream, there would most likely be more than one. Now that Zhao Tao had pointed out the 3 streams, Tang Ao guessed that there must be some kind of heaven-defying treasure at the source of these streams. Apart from this, Tang Ao was also very interested in the jade stone shards in Zhao Tao's hands. Tang Ao even suspected that if Shi Yun could cultivate here, he could use this jade stone shard to directly recover to the chaotic sky realm. However, although Tang Ao didn't understand why Shi Yun couldn't cultivate, Tang Ao felt that with Shi Yun's ability, it would probably take a long time for him to obtain this kind of jade stone shard. Chapter 1388. Although Zhao Tao looked like he had lost a lot by telling the truth, Tang Ao felt that he must have some sort of goal for telling the truth so honestly. However, Tang Ao didn't understand this mysterious blood moon red, so Tang Ao didn't know that although blood moon red was bloodthirsty, he didn't kill. This not kill meant not kill when asked. In other words, if blood moon red asked you, you just had to answer truthfully and he definitely wouldn't kill you. Anyone who heard of Blood Moon Red's name would know that he had this habit. Therefore, after meeting Blood Moon Red, if he asked you a question, then you still had a chance to live. If he attacked without any questions after meeting, then you would already be a dead man. Although Blood Moon Red was only at the 7th level of the body refining realm, in Blood Moon Red's battle records, there were many records of him killing 9th level body refining realm martial artists. After seeing Blood Moon Red's methods, Tang Ao felt that his understanding of the Hidden Dragon Cave's martial artists was far from enough. His understanding of the Hidden Dragon Cave was also insufficient. However, right now, Tang Ao wasn't too interested in the Hidden Dragon Cave. He was only slightly interested in Blood Moon Red. What truly interested Tang Ao was the Poison Fog Canyon that Zhao Tao spoke of. Just now, Zhao Tao had used Soul Remembrance to inscribe the Poison Fog Canyon. Tang Ao had already perfectly inscribed a copy. Different from other martial artists, Tang Ao was very unfamiliar with Evergreen Valley. This was because after Tang Ao came to the Hidden Dragon Cave, he hadn't gone to Evergreen Valley even once. This time, he ended up going to a dangerous place. Therefore, Tang Ao was very cautious. After all, he wasn't the unparalleled Devil Lord from his previous life who could kill anyone in his way. Currently, he was a small body refining realm martial artist that had fallen to Flying Star Continent. Moreover, even at his peak, Tang Ao was far from an old monster like Shi Yun. Tang Ao secretly rejoiced in his heart. Fortunately, Shi Yun could not use his immortal spirit qi in this place. Otherwise, Shi Yun would have already plundered everything in this place. Although Shi Yun had not plundered everything clean, Tang Ao felt that with Shi Yun's means, he must have plundered a lot of good things after staying here for a long time. Although Tang Ao understood this, he did not dare to have any ideas about Shi Tianyun. Although Shi Tianyun was also in a difficult situation, but as the saying goes, a starving camel is still bigger than a horse. Tang Ao felt that he was just a minor character in the body refining realm. It would be better if he didn't provoke Shi Yun, a great deity in the celestial muddy realm. These thoughts flashed through Tang Ao's mind. Then, Tang Ao looked at Zhao Tao again. At this time, Zhao Tao unexpectedly took out a token from his storage ring. After seeing this token, Tang Ao felt that it was very familiar. After thinking for a while, Tang Ao recalled where he had seen this token. Not long ago, Shi Yun had told them in his thatched hut that this thing was called a falling star token. According to Shi Yun, this falling star token had a total of 8 pieces. As long as one collected all 8 pieces, one could go to the outside world. Others might not know about the so-called outside world, but Tang Ao knew about it. After all, Tang Ao had accidentally entered Flying Star Continent from Xitigarbha Mausoleum. Previously, Shern Yen Yun had said that Tang Ao and the others would obtain these 8 tokens from the 8 major factions in half a year. Tang Ao had originally thought that these 8 tokens would be in the hands of the 8 major factions. Now that he saw this token in this place, Tang Ao suddenly understood that he was still too young. Chapter 1389. However, the Great Ten Alliance in the Hidden Dragon Crypt was imprisoned in the Hidden Dragon Crypt by the Dragon Prison Castle, which was as famous as the Murong family. From this, it was not difficult to see how much the Murong family had declined. Tang Ao believed that with Shern Wan Yun's desire for these 8 tokens, Shern Wan Yun would not stop Xiao Yu from attacking the Murong family under such circumstances. With Xiao Yu's body refining realm level 9 cultivation base, the Murong family, which was currently plagued with internal and external troubles, could be said to be unstoppable. After seeing the token in Zhao Tao's hand, an azure blue radiance circulated in Tang Ao's eyes. He instantly executed the heavenly polar eyes. Tang Ao did not know what the fallen star token was used for, but Tang Ao knew that since the fallen star token had caught the eye of a heavenly turbid realm expert like Shi Yun, it must be an extraordinary item. Previously, he did not have the chance to do so. Now that he had the chance, he could naturally investigate it clearly. Under the gaze of the heavenly polar eyes, everything around Tang Ao immediately became incomparably clear. Everything around him was within Tang Ao's control. However, the moment the heavenly polar eyes saw the fallen star token, Tang Ao was stunned. This was because the fallen star token actually had many rune restrictions similar to the primordial sacred heaven Bao and the Shenong cauldron. This meant that the fallen star token was at least a treasure of the same level as the primordial sacred heaven Bao and the Shenong cauldron. The origin of the primordial sacred heaven Bao was not very clear to Tang Ao. He only knew that in his previous life, the primordial sacred heaven Bao was the treasure of the heavenly Bao sect. As for the Shenong cauldron, Tang Ao clearly knew that it was the treasure of the Shenong emperor. The rune restrictions in the fallen star token were very similar to the rune restrictions in the primordial sacred heaven Bao and the Shenong cauldron. However, Tang Ao could vaguely feel that the rune restrictions in the fallen star token were slightly more ancient. Previously, Tang Ao had not expected that the fallen star token would actually be such a precious item. Master Red, I found this on a skeleton in the Poison Miasma Valley. It said that this is one of the 8 identity tokens that the 8 major forces found in the ruins of the Flying Star Cliff. I'm willing to give this token to Master Red, and I hope that Master Red can let me and Wen Yao live. The Blood Moon Red would not find you for no reason. This was something most of the martial artists in the Hidden Dragon Cave had heard before. So once the Blood Moon Red found you, if you had no hope of living, then you should die a quick death. When Shui Yuehong saw the medallion, she felt touched. Just as she was about to accept the medallion, a powerful force suddenly blew over. The force was even sharper than a sword. The black boulder beside Shui Yuehong and Zhao Tao was cut open by the sword energy. The cut was as smooth as a mirror. After the sword attack arrived, Blood Yuehong did not move at all. Instead, Zhao Tao turned around to look. Zhao Tao knew that this token was one of the 8 tokens that the 8 major powers had found. Naturally, he also knew that the token in his hand belonged to the Shangguan family. Zhao Tao knew that this badge was one of the 8 badges the 8 superpowers had found. Therefore, he knew that the badge in his hand belonged to the Shangguan family. Zhao Tao knew that this token was one of the 8 tokens that the 8 major powers had found. Naturally, he also knew that the token in his hand belonged to the Shangguan family. Chapter 1390. However, the fallen star token hadn't even warmed up in Blood Yuehong's hand when Shangguan Yi slapped it away. Facing Shangguan Yi, who was at the 9th stage of the body refining realm, Blood Yuehong's cultivation instantly increased. Under everyone's gaze, she instantly reached the peak of the 9th stage of the body refining realm. Tang Ao was slightly shocked. When Tang Ao had used his soul remembrance to investigate Blood Yuehong, he hadn't discovered that she had hidden her cultivation. Thus, Tang Ao admired her. Blood Yuehong's method of hiding her cultivation wasn't weak. After seeing the trajectory of the fallen star token, Tang Ao didn't try to snatch it. This was because Tang Ao saw that in this short period of time, 2 more acquaintances had arrived. Moreover, these 2 acquaintances had the same goal. They had come for the fallen star token. One of them was Wu Han, whom Tang Ao had met not long ago. The other was Xiao Yu, whom he had seen in Shern Wanyun's thatched cottage. The 2 didn't waste any words. When they saw the fallen star token flying over, they both rose from the ground and grabbed at the fallen star token. Because Wu Han had made the first move, he grabbed the fallen star token first. However, just as he grabbed the fallen star token, Xiao Yu's fan slapped Wu Han's wrist. Wu Han felt the pain and let go of the fallen star token. Xiao Yu saw an opportunity and immediately grabbed the fallen star token. However, at this moment, a blood aura surged behind Xiao Yu. While Xiao Yu was stunned, a blood-colored shadow grabbed the fallen star token and fled to the other side. Seeing that the fallen star token was being fought over by people at the same level as Blood Yuehong and Shangguan Yi, many martial artists immediately retreated far away. Everyone liked to watch a commotion, but a fight between experts of this level wasn't very entertaining. If one wasn't careful, they could lose their life. Tang Ao also indicated for Situ Qianqian to retreat. After Tang Ao retreated from the crowd, he circled around to the back of the 4 people fighting Blood Yuehong. Tang Ao was also very interested in this meteorite token. Although Tang Ao was not an opponent of these 4 guys, Tang Ao felt that it was not impossible to grab the meteorite token as long as he seized the opportunity. Thus, Tang Ao quietly sat cross-legged on a large tree and quietly watched the battle. Although Shui Yuehong's reputation was resounding, the other 3 did not give him any face. In just a short while, the 4 of them had already engaged in a chaotic battle. The fallen star token was also constantly changing hands. Tang Ao was speechless when he saw their playstyle. If they continued fighting like this, he wouldn't have the chance to snatch the fallen star token at all. Even so, Tang Ao did not give up easily. Opportunities could come by or they could be created by themselves. Tang Ao hadn't thought about how to create an opportunity to snatch the meteorite token, but it was not a problem for Tang Ao to wait and see. Moreover, these 4 people could basically be considered the top martial artists in the Hidden Dragon Crypt. Therefore, the battle between the few of them was still very enjoyable to watch. Among the 4, Wu Han was surrounded by blood aura and looked very evil. Tang Ao knew that this was caused by Wu Han using the evil blood technique. However, Wu Han's evil blood technique was obviously much more powerful than Tang Ming's. After Tang Ming used the evil blood technique, he was completely delirious. Chapter 1391. Therefore, everyone was shocked. Who on earth were these 2 fellows fighting Blood Yuehong and Shangguan Yi? Who was the strongest in the Hidden Dragon Caves? Currently, no one could return. However, if the Hidden Dragon Caves selected the top 10, Shangguan Yi and Blood Yuehong would definitely be on the list. In that case, it was highly likely that the 2 masked men were among the top 10 experts. However, when everyone compared the top 10 experts, they found that these 2 fellows weren't even in the top 10. They weren't in the top 10, but their own strength was so powerful. Everyone couldn't help but sigh. This Hidden Dragon Caves was too big. There would always be some elusive fellows with powerful martial strength. In truth, it was not just the spectators below who were surprised. Even Shui Yuehong and Shangguan Yi were surprised. The 2 of them simply could not understand where these 2 strange fellows had come from. They could actually fight on equal grounds with them. On the other side, Tang Ao saw that Shui Yuehong and the others were equally matched. If this continued, by the time a victor was determined, Tang Ao reckoned that the Crouching Dragon Bazaar would be cancelled. Thinking of this, Tang Ao jumped down from the tree. After arriving at a hidden place, Tang Ao took out a few array flags and threw them into a specific area. Immediately, Tang Ao's figure instantly hid in the cat forest. This was a normal concealment restriction that could hide from a martial artist's naked eye. Some weaker martial artists wouldn't be able to detect it with their soul remembrance. However, Tang Ao's current position was far from the spectators. Tang Ao had just used his soul remembrance to scan around, and there was no one nearby. Therefore, Tang Ao prepared to come here to do something. Tang Ao took out black iron, ink steel, and 1/2 kilogram of meteoric iron sand from his storage ring. Then, Tang Ao took out a crafting furnace. Tang Ao already had the farmer god cauldron for pill concoction. Therefore, Tang Ao felt that he was still missing a crafting furnace. Tang Ao didn't choose to come here to forge at this time because he had nothing better to do. On the contrary, Tang Ao wanted to imitate some fake fallen star tokens according to the appearance of the fallen star token. The strength of Blood Moon and Scarlet's 4 fellows was difficult to determine. Thus, even if the 4 of them fought for an entire day, they would not be able to determine a victor. However, Tang Ao was determined to get this meteorite token, so Tang Ao came up with this method of passing off fish eyes as pearls. Moreover, the rune restriction on the falling star token could not be seen by weak soul remembrance. Thus, Tang Ao felt that as long as his imitation was slightly more similar, Blood Moon Scarlet and the other 3 would not be able to tell the difference. Although the grade of Tang Ao's crafting furnace was not high, the space inside was huge. Therefore, under the control of Tang Ao, the 100 pieces of meteorite tokens inside the crafting furnace had already begun to take shape. This step was the simplest. He just had to use his soul remembrance to control the flames in the crafting furnace to mold the token. However, this time, Tang Ao was simultaneously forging 100 pieces of tokens. Thus, the requirements for Tang Ao were extremely high. Fortunately, Tang Ao's soul remembrance was abnormally strong. Thus, even though he was simultaneously forging 100 pieces of tokens, Tang Ao's forging still proceeded in an orderly manner. As Tang Ao was secretly crafting artifacts in the forest, the battle between Shui Yuehong and the other 3 cultivators was still ongoing. Xiao Yu was very depressed because he felt that the other 3 people did not know what the Fallen Star token was used for. Fighting over the Fallen Star token at this time was truly crazy. However, no matter how much Xiao Yu complained, the other 3 people did not have any intention of giving up. Chapter 1392. Although the grade of these tokens was not high, Tang Ao's psyche was not as strong as before. Therefore, Tang Ao still chose to carve the inscription formation on 10 tokens together. Under the burning of the flame, Tang Ao took out the tokens with the inscription formation and placed them aside. Then, Tang Ao continued to carve the inscription formation on the next batch of tokens. After a joss stick's worth of time, Tang Ao had finished refining 100 meteorite tokens. After refining the meteorite tokens, Tang Ao did not leave the place immediately. Instead, he sat down cross-legged and quietly recovered the psyche he had just expended. Earlier, Tang Ao had used his Skypole pupil to examine the meteorite tokens. Therefore, Tang Ao could see that one of the runic formations within the meteorite token had a strong spatial fluctuation. Tang Ao felt that he would have to use the meteorite token if he wanted to leave this place. However, Tang Ao had only used his Skypole pupil to scan it and had not observed it in detail. Therefore, Tang Ao still did not know what secrets were hidden within the meteorite token. However, Tang Ao was sure that with Yun Xiaoyao's crafting heritage and his own Skypole pupil, as long as he could obtain a meteorite token, Tang Ao would be able to discover his secrets. After recuperating for a while, Tang Ao put away all 100 meteorite tokens and completely removed the formation he had set up. After making sure that no traces were left behind, Tang Ao quietly approached the place where Blood Moon Red and the other three were fighting. Tang Ao used his psyche to detect that Blood Moon Red and the other three were still engaged in an intense battle. However, as the battle continued, Shangguan Yi seemed to be tired. However, Tang Ao knew that Shangguan Yi's exhaustion was completely faked. It was just that his acting was too bad, so the other three did not believe him and did not hesitate in every attack. Naturally, the meteorite token kept changing hands among the four. However, no matter who obtained it, the other three would definitely attack together. Their cultivation was about the same, so no one could overpower the other. Therefore, it was impossible for them to take the meteorite token away when they were attacked by the other three. After Wu Han snatched the meteorite token again, he immediately wanted to use Blood Escape to leave. However, before he could use Blood Escape, Blood Moon Red and the other two had already sealed off his escape route. Xiao Yu's fan had also sent the meteorite token flying out of Wu Han's hand. Good chance. When Tang Ao saw the meteor token flying towards him, he was secretly delighted. Then, he took out a golden light bomb from his storage ring and threw it into the air. At the same time that Tang Ao threw out the golden light bombs, the 100 fallen star tokens that he had previously refined also flew over. Tang Ao took the opportunity to grab the meteorite token. After snatching the meteorite token, Tang Ao was overjoyed and hastily put the meteorite token into his storage ring. However, what surprised Tang Ao was that the meteorite token couldn't be put into his storage ring. Thinking of this, Tang Ao had a thought and opened up the Primal Chaos Hexlight Mirror's space. Promptly, Tang Ao threw the meteorite token in. Then, he ran in another direction. Chapter 1393. After Tang Ao took the Real Fallen Star token, Tang Ao retreated behind the crowd. Seeing Situ Qianqian at the back of the crowd, Tang Ao immediately walked over. Junior Qianqian, let's go to the Subduing Dragon Market now. Tang Ao truly didn't expect to encounter a Fallen Star token on the road. This caused Tang Ao and Situ Qianqian to wake up early in the morning to rush to the market. Senior brother Tang Ao, that's what young Master Yun said he needed. Why don't we steal one and bring it back? Just now, Tang Ao had used the golden light bullet to throw out 100 tokens. Although there were many martial artists here, there weren't many who dared to steal the Fallen Star token. Moreover, after this unforeseen event, Xiao Yu was instantly enraged. Scram! Seeing the martial artists who were about to try and steal the Fallen Star token on the ground, Xiao Yu said coldly. However, under the influence of benefits, Xiao Yu's warning was clearly ignored. Just now, everyone had seen Xiao Yu and the other three fight over the Fallen Star token. Therefore, everyone guessed that this small token was definitely not ordinary. Now, for some reason, so many tokens had appeared. Moreover, under the Soul Remembrance scan, there was no difference from the previous token. Therefore, many people gathered their courage and prepared to steal some of the Fallen Star tokens. However, Xiao Yu was clearly extremely angry. Therefore, when a martial artist grabbed a Fallen Star token and was about to escape, Xiao Yu casually threw out a blade that pierced through the martial artist's back. Before this martial artist died, he was still in disbelief. He had struggled in the Subduing Dragon Cave for so long, only to die like this. Although Xiao Yu had killed a person, it clearly didn't achieve the effect Xiao Yu wanted. At this moment, there were still martial artists continuously surging forward to steal the Fallen Star tokens on the ground. Scram! This time, it was Shui Yuehong who spoke. In reality, Shui Yuehong didn't know what this token was used for. However, she knew that the token that had just been stolen had once belonged to her mother. However, after seeing Tang Ao's image, Shui Yuehong did not know which token was the real one. This was because when Shui Yuehong's soul remembrance swept over these tokens, she shockingly discovered that the aura of these tokens was the same as the aura of the token they had fought over earlier. This meant that there might be real meteorite tokens mixed in with the pile of meteorite tokens below. It was also possible that all the meteorite tokens below were fake. However, after thinking about it for a while, they decided to ignore the authenticity of the fallen star tokens for now. Wu Han was the first to grab a fallen star token. Immediately, Wu Han wanted to place the fallen star token into his storage ring to test it out. When Wu Han realized that the token could not be stored in his storage ring, a look of joy appeared on his face. He immediately wanted to take the token and leave. However, out of curiosity, Wu Han picked up another meteorite token along the way. Wu Han tried to put the fallen star token into his storage ring again, but to no avail. Wu Han's expression changed. This was because this fallen star token also could not be stored in a storage ring. This meant that this method could no longer distinguish the real from the fake. In the crowd, Tang Ao saw everyone's changing expressions and was secretly amused. However, Tang Ao still patted Situ Qianqian, indicating that she should go to the subduing dragon market. Situ Qianqian nodded her head and didn't refuse. She had suggested fighting for a fallen star token just to let Tang Ao know. Since Tang Ao had decided not to fight for such a token, Situ Qianqian naturally had no other thoughts. Chapter 1394. Although they were still a distance away from the subduing dragon market, this time, Tang Ao and Situ Qianqian did not continue riding horses. Tang Ao deeply felt that in the subduing dragon caves, he still needed a mighty and domineering demonic beast as a mount. An ordinary mount like the date red horse was not very practical in the subduing dragon cave. It could run around in Qingyun village for a while, but if it encountered a demonic beast outside, it would be frightened to the point that it would not dare to move. After an incense worth of time, Tang Ao and Situ Qianqian saw a huge stone pillar with the words "Subduing Dragon Market" written on it. Behind the stone pillar was an abnormally bustling subduing dragon market. Looking over, Tang Ao saw an endless stream of martial artists walking back and forth on the street. There were many shops on both sides of the street, and the shops were selling all sorts of things. Other than the shops, Tang Ao also saw some street stalls. Compared to the neatly arranged items in the shops, the things on the street stalls were slightly messy. Tang Ao looked around and found that these street stalls really had everything. Beast bones, spirit herbs, ores, pills, spirit artifact fragments, all sorts of strange things could be seen. Tang Ao was also prepared to buy some things, but before that, Tang Ao still had to sell all the pills that he refined last night. There were usually 3 ways to sell pills here. The first was to set up a stall and sell it yourself. The second was to sell to the pill pavilions, but this method was rarely used by martial artists. This was because 9 out of 10 pill pavilions here were black merchants. Unless they had no other choice, otherwise no martial artists or alchemists would be willing to sell pills to the pill pavilions. Alchemists were a little better, as they could sign an agreement with the pill pavilions and then refine pills for the pill pavilions in the long term. The price of the pills sold would also be slightly higher. But if ordinary martial artists sold pills, the price would be pushed down again and again by the pill pavilions. The third way was to sell pills through auctions. If your pills were precious enough, then auctions were definitely the best choice. However, there were 2 drawbacks to selling elixirs at the auction. The first drawback was that if it wasn't time for the auction, the elixirs could only be kept under wraps and couldn't be sold immediately. The second reason was that every auction house had a transaction tax of about 10%. Therefore, if the pill was not particularly precious and could be bought at a good price, It was definitely a wrong choice to send it to the auction house. Tang Ao was very confident in the quality of his pills. However, Tang Ao wanted to sell the pills now. Tang Ao had asked around and found out that the nearest auction was in 10 days. Tang Ao obviously did not have that much time. Since he couldn't go to the auction, he could only set up stalls and pill pavilions. Originally, Tang Ao was preparing to set up a stall. However, Tang Ao discovered that the majority of the martial artists who came to buy medicinal pills were willing to go to the pill pavilion to buy. Up till now, Tang Ao had not seen any of the stalls selling medicinal pills. Seeing this scene, Tang Ao could only helplessly smile bitterly. Although good wine needs no dark alley, Tang Ao really didn't have time to sell medicinal pills here today. If there was a need in the future, he could buy a shop here to sell medicinal pills. And, with this idea, an electric current suddenly flashed in Tang Ao's mind. Tang Ao was absolutely confident in his own alchemy ability. Therefore, there was no need to open a pill pavilion in the Crouching Dragon Market. He could directly open it in Qing Yun Village. Although this idea was excellent, he still had to do some preparatory work. One of the most important preparatory work was to sell the 40 bottles of medicinal pills in his hands and then exchange for enough spirit herbs to go back and refine pills. Junior Sister Qianqian, I heard you say that out of 10 pill pavilions here, 9 are black. Junior Sister Qianqian, do you know which pill pavilion has a more fair price for purchasing medicinal pills? It was Tang Ao's first time coming to the Crouching Dragon Market, so he wasn't very familiar with it. Why don't we go to Rosy Cloud Pill Pavilion? Sister Rosy Cloud Pill Pavilion's Sister Rosy Cloud and Sister Muyang are good friends. I used to follow Sister Muyang to Sister Rosy Cloud's shop to buy medicinal pills many times. After thinking for a while, Situ Qianqian recommended Rosy Cloud Pill Pavilion to Tang Ao. Chapter 1395. In the Dragon Subduing Market, the Rosy Cloud Pill House's location was not the best, but it was definitely relatively good. The Rosy Cloud Pill House occupied a large area, and there was an endless stream of people around. If it was to sell medicinal pills, this location happened to be very suitable. Moreover, Tang Ao noticed that the Rosy Cloud Pill House's facade was very big and very imposing. Such a large pill house, the medicinal pills and spirit grass reserves would also be very abundant. When Tang Ao and Situ Qianqian came to the front of the Rosy Cloud Pill House's shop, they could still see martial artists coming in and out of the Rosy Cloud Pill House's shop door. Obviously, these martial artists came to the Rosy Cloud Pill House to buy or sell medicinal pills. After Tang Ao walked into the Rosy Cloud Pill House's door with Situ Qianqian, they saw a very conspicuous sign. This wooden sign wrote that the first floor was to buy medicinal pills and spirit grass, the second floor was to sell medicinal pills and spirit grass, and the third floor was to order medicinal pills. These 3 simple sentences undoubtedly revealed the strength of the Rosy Cloud Pill House. These 3 sentences reflected that the Rosy Cloud Pill House could meet all the needs of most martial artists for medicinal pills. Whether you needed to buy medicinal pills, sell medicinal pills, or even refine special medicinal pills, the Rosy Cloud Pill House could serve you. Senior apprentice brother Tang Ao, Big Sister Mu Yang and Big Sister Kaiyun are good friends, so Big Sister Mu Yang can find Big Sister Kaiyun directly every time she comes. But we don't know Big Sister Kaiyun, so we can only go to the second floor to sell medicinal pills step by step. Previously, when Situ Qianqian followed Mu Yang to the Rosy Cloud Pill House, Mu Yang found Xia Kaiyun to trade directly. But now that Tang Ao and she did not know Xia Kaiyun, naturally they could only trade through normal channels. This was not because Situ Qianqian had no confidence in the medicinal pills refined by Tang Ao, but because there were too many martial artists who came to the Rosy Cloud Pill House to trade medicinal pills every day. If there were no acquaintances, just lining up would take a long time. And now Tang Ao was obviously pressed for time, so he was not willing to set up a stall to sell medicinal pills, but directly came to the Rosy Cloud Pill House to sell medicinal pills. This time, Tang Ao came to the Rosy Cloud Pill House to sell medicinal pills and then buy spirit grass. Therefore, Tang Ao followed the instructions on the wooden sign and walked up to the second floor. The area of the Rosy Cloud Pellet Pavilion was very wide. After Tang Ao and Situ Qianqian walked up to the second floor, Tang Ao discovered that this place was not like a one-story building at all, but more like a small plaza. On the second floor of the Rosy Cloud Pill House, there were 5 windows on the 4 sides of the north, south, east, and west. These 20 windows were responsible for appraising medicinal pills for martial artists and purchasing medicinal pills. Although 20 windows were not a small number, at this moment there was a long queue in front of every window. Among them, there were 2 middle-aged alchemists who were in charge of the windows with the most number of cultivators. However, the window with the young female alchemist had the least number of people. The number of people at the other windows was more or less the same. There weren't too many or too few people. Tang Ao looked around and asked Situ Qianqian, "Junior sister Qianqian, is big sister Kaiyun here?" Tang Ao did not know that Kaiyun was the daughter of the Rosy Cloud Pill House's pavilion master, so Tang Ao asked this. Although the name Kaiyun was the same as the Rosy Cloud Pill House, alchemist Tang Ao still did not think about this place. Situ Qianqian shook her head. "Senior apprentice brother Tang Ao, we can't see big sister Kaiyun. She rarely appears here, and only big sister Muyang has a way to find her." Chapter 1396. Do the two of you have an appointment with an alchemist? While Tang Ao and Situ Qianqian were talking, a waiter walked in front of Tang Ao and Situ Qianqian. He smiled at Tang Ao and asked this question. Hearing this question, Tang Ao was a bit speechless. He was a grade 6 spirit alchemist, but he had to make an appointment with an alchemist just to refine a few grade 1 spirit pills. Even so, Tang Ao didn't act rashly. As the saying goes, people have to lower their heads when they're under someone else's roof. Right now, Tang Ao had a favor to ask, so Tang Ao still said seriously, "This is my first time selling pills here, so I didn't know that I needed to make an appointment to sell pills here." After Tang Ao finished speaking, the waiter waved his hand. "Since this is your first time here, I'll tell you something. The appointment with an alchemist is made after you come here. Every alchemist has a different price, so it depends on which alchemist you want to make an appointment with." Hearing the attendant's words, Tang Ao felt sad in his heart. Although Tang Ao also admitted that in the depths of the dragon-subduing cave, the competition between the cultivators was too intense. Therefore, it didn't matter if there were a few more rules in the Elixir Pavilion. However, the rules of the Rosy Cloud Elixir Pavilion gave Tang Ao a headache. This was because the Rosy Cloud Pill Pavilion was frequented by Mu Yang. This meant that the Rosy Cloud Pill Pavilion was very good compared to other pill pavilions. Thinking about this, Tang Ao found it hard to imagine how dark the other pill pavilions were. "What's the price for an appointment with an alchemist?" Tang Ao casually pointed at an alchemist and asked. There were plenty of cultivators waiting in line for this alchemist to appraise their pills. Among these alchemists, this was one of the more normal ones. Perhaps because it was Tang Ao's first time here, the waiter patiently said, "Alchemist Wang and these alchemists' appointment is 20 silver coins, Alchemist Lu and Alchemist Zhao's appointment is 200 silver coins, and Alchemist Han's appointment is 10 silver coins." While the waiter was explaining to Tang Ao, he pointed at the corresponding alchemist. Therefore, Tang Ao knew that the alchemist he was asking about was Alchemist Wang. As for the two alchemists with the longest lines, they were Alchemist Lu and Alchemist Zhao. As for that young female alchemist, she was the Alchemist Han that the attendant had mentioned. Just as Tang Ao was hesitating about which alchemist to appraise his pills, there were a few more people coming up to the second floor. Seeing this scene, Tang Ao hurriedly threw 20 silver coins to the attendant and said, "I want Alchemist Wang's reservation certificate." After receiving the 20 silver coins from Tang Ao, the attendant was somewhat startled. Of course, this wasn't because Tang Ao had given too much. On the contrary, it was because Tang Ao had given too little. Although the fee for an appointment was 20 silver coins, the more he gave, the higher the number would be. The less he gave, the lower the number would be. However, this time, the waiter couldn't be bothered to talk nonsense with Tang Ao. He took out a small jade token from his storage ring and threw it to Tang Ao before turning to leave. Rosy Cloud Pill Pavilion was one of the top 3 pill pavilions in the entire dragon subduing cave. Therefore, there were many cultivators who came here to buy pills and sell pills every day. Many of these people were here for the first time. However, this waiter had been here for a long time, but he had never seen someone as clueless as Tang Ao. Chapter 1397. Tang Ao noticed everyone's gazes, but Tang Ao truly didn't understand what was going on. Just as Tang Ao was thinking, the people who had just come from the staircase also arrived in front of the attendant. After a simple exchange, they bought a reservation from the attendant. However, what Tang Ao didn't expect was that one of the people who bought the reservation was also this pill master Wang's. However, when he gave the attendant the silver coins, Tang Ao clearly saw that this martial artist grabbed 50 silver coins and gave it to the attendant. The attendant held the heavy 50 silver coins in his purse and was naturally in an exceptionally good mood. Thus, the attendant very straightforwardly took out a reservation from his storage ring and gave it to this martial artist. This reservation was exactly the same as the one in Tang Ao's hand, but the words on it were different. Tang Ao scanned it with his soul remembrance and found that something was wrong. This martial artist's reservation number was very near the front. Subsequently, Tang Ao's soul remembrance scanned the front of the line and Tang Ao found that everyone's number plates weren't connected. This way, who knew how many more people could be inserted in the middle? Seeing this, Tang Ao couldn't help but want to roar. However, thinking of his current body refinement realm 5th level cultivation, Tang Ao really didn't have the confidence to cause trouble here. Although on the surface, this second floor of the pill pavilion only had this body refinement realm 6th level attendant maintaining order, when Tang Ao used his soul remembrance to investigate, he shockingly discovered that there were 2 body refinement realm 9th level elders overseeing the north and south sides of the pill pavilion. It seemed that the pill pavilion daring to be so shady wasn't completely without reason. Indeed, after the martial artist took the reservation, he walked straight to the front of the line. At this moment, there were 30 or so martial artists in front of Tang Ao. When they saw this person walk forward, they didn't stop him. Clearly, this reservation method was tacitly accepted by everyone. Although Tang Ao still had a lot of silver coins on him, seeing this situation still made Tang Ao angry. It seemed that in this hidden dragon cave, there really wasn't any fairness to speak of. Even though fairness did not exist in the world of cultivators, this kind of thing happened even when he was selling pills. But in the hidden dragon crypt, the survival of the fittest was displayed to the extreme. Tang Ao didn't say much and retreated from the group. Then, he walked to the window of the female alchemist with the surname Han. When he saw that Tang Ao did not look for him to exchange his number plate with him, but instead took the initiative to change the alchemist, a cold glint flashed in the eyes of the attendant in charge of issuing the number plates. Although it was just a flash, Tang Ao's soul remembrance was so powerful that Tang Ao naturally caught the chill in the attendant's eyes. At this point, Tang Ao completely did not have a good impression of the Rosy Cloud Pill Pavilion. Perhaps that Xia Kaiyun in Sidu Qianshan's mouth was a good person, but the entire Rosy Cloud Elixir Pavilion's atmosphere was clearly somewhat filthy. However, Tang Ao still didn't leave. Instead, he walked straight to the window of the female alchemist with the surname Han. Seeing Tang Ao walk over, the pretty woman at the window faintly smiled at Tang Ao and simultaneously used soul remembrance to transmit to Tang Ao. Friend, if you want to change alchemists, you need to go to Attendant Lu to exchange a reservation token. You've offended Attendant Lu, so he will make things difficult for you in the Rosy Cloud Pill Pavilion. While communicating with Tang Ao via soul remembrance, Han Shui was still focused on examining the pills in her hands. It was as if she wasn't even talking to Tang Ao. Chapter 1398. My name is Han Shui. After hearing Tang Ao introduce himself, Han Shui also replied. However, Han Shui didn't say much. Although Han Shui was slightly older than Sidu Qianqian, she was still a shy girl. After saying her name, the previously calm face of her pretty face became a little drunk. At this moment, Tang Ao no longer had the intention to stay here. Therefore, Tang Ao crossed the crowd and arrived in front of Han Shui, handing a bottle of pills to her. This was a bottle of 3-star antidote pills. Although it was only a 3-star pill, it was the best among 3-star pills. It was just that there was a restriction covering it, so Han Shui didn't know what pill it was. After Tang Ao left the bottle of pills, he immediately left. When he walked to Attendant Lu's side, Tang Ao threw the reservation certificate in his hand to him and then waved at Sidu Qianqian. Junior sister Qianqian, let's go. Although Tang Ao felt that selling pills was too time-consuming, since the elixir dispensary was so shady, Tang Ao decided to set up his own stall to sell pills and buy medicinal ingredients. At the same time, Tang Ao was prepared to concoct pills on the street. This was also good for promoting his concoction at Qing Yun village in 3 days. Thinking of this, Tang Ao felt that he should have done this before and not come to the Rosy Cloud Elixir Dispensary to look for trouble. But what Tang Ao didn't expect was that when he and Situ Qianqian left the Rosy Cloud Elixir Dispensary, they were stopped by 2 martial artists. These 2 were at the 7th level of the body refining realm. Tang Ao hadn't seen them before, but Tang Ao knew that these 2 were indeed looking for him. This was because one of them was holding a crystal ball in his hand. The crystal ball happened to have the image of him on the 2nd level of the Rosy Cloud Elixir Dispensary. The brat from the Hidden Dragon Cave is getting more and more arrogant. A 5th-level brat dares to challenge Attendant Lu. One of them looked at Tang Ao helplessly. You can't say that. If it weren't for these troublemakers, how could our brothers have gotten so many benefits from Lu? Another warrior said as he looked at Tang Ao. The flow of people in this area was not small. When everyone saw Mad Dragon and Evil Tiger stop Tang Ao, they immediately realized that there was going to be a good show to watch. No one here knew who Tang Ao was, but almost everyone knew who Mad Dragon and Vicious Tiger were. Because these 2 fellows basically didn't do any proper business. They caused trouble in the dragon subduing market all day long. However, the 2 of them wouldn't cause trouble for no reason. Basically, every time they made a move, it was for the other party's money. Moreover, the subduing dragon market did not forbid martial artists from fighting. As long as one did not anger those who could not be offended, no one would care even if one fought until the sky turned dark. Kid, you're called Tang Ao, right? Lu Yi said that as long as he broke one of your hands, this matter would be settled. Do you want to chop off one of your arms yourself, or do you want us brothers to help you? Ha! Mad Dragon laughed after he finished speaking. Vicious Tiger, who was at the side, looked at Tang Ao and Situ Qianqian with unfriendly eyes. At this time, there were more and more people around, but no one stopped them. In the dragon subduing dragon cave, no matter where, fighting was a very common thing. If it was a peaceful scene everywhere, it would really be a little strange. Hence, although everyone surrounded them, no one was here to uphold justice. They were all here to watch the show. Chapter 1399. Towards this Wen Yao, Tang Ao was extremely disgusted. However, Tang Ao couldn't help but admit that this woman was really charming. It was as if one could not bear to look away from her. Her pretty face had a delicate and pitiful look, and she looked a little haggard and pitiful. Her figure was exquisite and graceful, and every frown had its own charm. She was truly a stunner. Is it not good to be alive? Faced with Kuang Long's impolite words, Tang Ao's reply was very calm. Calm but strange. Or was it not good? This sentence wasn't strange at all. It was just a common threat. But at this moment, when Tang Ao, a 5th-tier body refining realm martial artist, said it to the 7th-tier body refining realm Kuang Long and Evil Tiger, this sentence was very strange. Kid, I think you are tired of living. Kuang Long had beaten up many people in the subduing dragon market. Hence, Kuang Long naturally knew that there were some people who would not shed tears until they saw the coffin. This Tang Ao in front of him was clearly one of them. Since that was the case, then he could only let Tang Ao see the coffin. Kuang Long looked rough, but Tang Ao did not expect this burly man to use a swift sword. This sword was no different from an ordinary swift sword. They were all 3 feet long. A man who was almost 6 meters tall, like an iron tower, actually used a swift sword. It looked very comical. With his physique, even if he used a heavy sword, he would still be able to do it with ease. However, he had chosen to use such an ordinary and fast sword. Although Kuang Long's swift sword looked uncoordinated, Tang Ao did not dare to be careless. This was because the moment Kuang Long held his sword, Tang Ao could feel Kuang Long's entire aura change. There was a cold, killing intent hidden in his body. This was a feeling that a newbie who used a sword would definitely not have. Hence, a martial artist who could give off such a feeling after holding a sword was usually not that weak. Junior sister Qianqian, step back. I'll exchange a few moves with him. Although Tang Ao was only at the peak of the 5th level of the body refining realm, Mad Dragon was at the peak of the 7th level of the body refining realm. He was 2 levels higher than Tang Ao. Even so, Tang Ao did not show any signs of fear. If it weren't for the fact that his soul sea and sea of wisdom had been shattered, Tang Ao was fully confident that he could instantly kill off Mad Dragon. Unfortunately, not only was Tang Ao's sea of consciousness and soul almost completely shattered, Tang Ao's cultivation was also not on par with Kuang Long's. Hence, Tang Ao could only dream about instantly killing Mad Dragon. At least, the current Tang Ao would never be able to do it. Under the watchful eyes of the crowd, a silver light flickered in Tang Ao's hand. Immediately, the 100 battle spear soul was released by Tang Ao. Is this your choice? What a stupid choice. Seeing the 100 battle spear soul in Tang Ao's hand, the long sword in Kuang Long's hand roared and suddenly stabbed towards Tang Ao. The long sword whistled and the cold wind was bone-chilling. Kuang Long's killing intent also exploded at this moment. That monstrous killing intent made people involuntarily retreat. Those with weaker cultivation or a weaker will would probably lose their fighting spirit under this murderous aura. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.